You might be on mute, yeah.
Are we on mute?
Yeah.
Okay, we're good now.
We're,
Todd, can you hear us?
yeah.
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, perfect. All right. So approval of the minutes, motion to approve the last minutes. John, Gord, all in favor? Okay, that's passed. All right. So the only agenda item we have today is to discuss the official community plan. Does anybody want to do an intro to it, or do you want us to just, yeah? Nicole, I'll look to you.
Yeah. We can go through, I know we can talk about it after we get the whole,
Yeah.
but I'll give her a reminder of where we're at with this. Thank you. Okay.
All right.
Okay, so, last year we contracted with Urban Systems to refresh the OCP. And with that, we had some specific project goals. That's the next slide there, June. Okay, so we wanted to address all the legislative requirements for the OCP update, coming down from the province. We wanted to have some response to the changing community conditions and the priorities. We engaged with the public last summer based on the OCP refresh. In the OCP, we wanted to establish clarity, user-friendly policy direction, so it's going to be organized into some of the chapters. Focus on updating and developing some sections, and I'll talk about those. We wanted to align and integrate all of the plans and strategies and whatever we've done in the last 10 years into this OCP and recognize that work. Of course, align all the residential land use designations with policies of Bill 44. So that's low density, medium density, and so on. Then integrate the housing needs assessment projection. So all that good work that June's been doing on the interim housing report included in this OCP. The strengthened MP policies. So I'm sure that'll come today. Some development permit area updates, including a new hazard development permit area, and then the updated riparian development permit area. General housekeeping, so reorganizing, like I mentioned, of the chapters, and then updating the mapping. Then revising, like where we can to help with enforcement, and then modernizing some contents regarding ELR and agriculture. I don't know if we're here, phase 4 and 5, we're reviewing a draft of the OCP. We're not at first and second reading yet, so there's lots of time to discuss. And then the next step, of course, we further refine this draft, prepare it for first and second, go through public input, so the public will still have a chance to well, and then go into adoption. That's a brief overview.
Great.
Yeah, we're excited to finally discuss it.
Yeah, I think there's several points. So thank you for that introduction. And I guess I'm just looking towards committee people, and so the mayor, thank you for joining us.
You're welcome. Thanks.
This is a good opportunity for everyone to make sure their points are heard. Just kind of how you want to do that. If anybody has some suggestions, if you want me to just open it to the floor, do you want to go through some sections, or you don't really care? So maybe some suggestions. Yeah.
Just provide more context.
Sure. Yeah.
This project, so this project, we did get a grant from the province.
Right.
Because of their housing changes.
Yeah.
So the money that we utilized in their contract was paid for by the province. So the district didn't have to meet the caveat with that is there was parameters around the housing they had to incorporate. So this was not intended to be a full overhaul of the OCP. It was just specifically for this housing component. Any other opportunity we had that leaves housekeeping work with it, we want to take the opportunity. We didn't do the research nor the consultation nor all the components to do an overhaul of the entire OCP. It was only related to the housing. So that just for context, we didn't spend the money, nor did we want to spend the money on overall. That generally is between 6 months and a year. This has taken that long, but that's not the entire thing to work.
Right.
So we have not had a consultant working on this with the for the last year. They were delayed. This was supposed to be finished last fall. It's not because of your staff haven't finished this fall. It's a consultant that is trying to do this all over BC. These guys are doing these OCP amendments. Everybody had to have it done by the end of the year. They're not concerned about Sycamores at this point. We're about Abbotsford, Burnaby, Quitlam. We're at about 92 on their list of people to give a call. Where are you at?
Right.
We're not going to solve BC's housing crisis in Sycamores. As much as we'd love to, because we'd like to welcome as many people. We're not going to solve it in Sycamores. So we're not on their hit list for calls from the ministry saying, what are you doing? But we will be eventually, so we want to get it done.
Yeah, no, that's very good context. Yeah, I think we received $100,000 grant and that went to the consultant to do this work. And I know lots of people have comments. So Gordon, then Pauline, how do you? Sure.
Sure. Just to address that point, Dean, and I think we all get that that was the goal of this, but I think that the PDC committee has things that they've been dealing with that are easily tweaked in this, and things that we missed last time that don't need whole public consultation, but just can be corrected or changed. So I think the PDC has come across some things that will be helpful to them. And if I could make a suggestion.
Yes, please.
I would just start and flip through quickly. We don't need to drag, but we can quickly.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Gord, you had your hand up as
I
well.
don't know, I took lots of notes and, you know, I kind of remember when we went down this process, do we do it in-house or do we do it out of house? I feel we could just flip through the pages and do it one at a time. Because I kind of think we lost a little bit of the personal touch, but
Right.
anyway, so I took lots of notes so we can get through it.
And you're okay with that, John? Yeah. Todd, does that sound reasonable to you?
Sure.
Okay, well then let's do it that way. Perfect. So I guess what we'll do is I'll go by this agenda here, right? It's all kind of labeled introduction section. So I guess I'll just kind of call each section and see if anybody has some points or discussions.
Good
right?
idea.
So okay, let's call introduction. So that includes the history of Sycamus, regional context, natural features and landscape, community vision and plan foundations, the future plan, content, and creating the plan. So I guess it's kind of the overview of what we're going to be looking at today. Does anybody have any points within that section? Yeah,
I do.
Go ahead, Gord. Okay, so Gord and then Todd.
Just history of Sycamoose, where we have Schwepnik, being involved. Where it says Schwepnik way of life, I kind of thought, and I really like what Sam and Arm has put in their acknowledgements, is instead of way of life, and I'll give you my notes after, but eliminate way of life, but put people with whom we share these lands and where we all live and work together. It's kind of got a nice ring to it, and Sam and Arm's been using that for years, and it's kind of, it's not their whole acknowledgement, but it's got a little. So I kind of have that in there.
Yeah, I agree with Gord. Can I speak now?
Yeah, go right ahead, Todd.
Yeah, I agree with Gord in that I think it's a pretty bold statement for our OCP with all the stuff with First Nations going on right now in the province. So, I think they should be acknowledged, but, I'm not sure where this proof is that they had villages in Sycamoose and lived along Mare Lake. I don't know. I don't see any of that. I've never seen that. I think we need to mention them, but to state that, this was their home and they lived in Sycamoose along Mare Lake. The studies I did at Old Town Bay, the Sycamoose was only an area that they came to in the late fall to get the fish, gather their fish, and then they left. They didn't live in Sycamoose all year long. So I just want to I think we need to be careful on what we're stating in an OCP when it comes to this kind of documentation.
Okay, thanks, Todd. Gord and then the mayor.
Yeah, I agree with Todd. There is a concern lately, and I guess it all depends which government gets in. But most of the forerunners for the conservative are talking about repealing the UNDRIP. So, there could be, our timing, it's, who knows when the election may be called, but it sticks, if another government gets in there and things change, things will change in a hurry.
And you know what, I'm just going to echo quickly and and I mentioned this, Dean, too, this is our OCP. And I agree with Gord, you know what, in our agendas, on our agendas, not Salmon Arms. We say we acknowledge that we gather on the traditional territory of the Secwepemc people and these lands with whom we live and work together. So that's on our agenda. And I think if we stuck with what's on our agenda and just place that as the first portion of this, I think it
does the
acknowledgement.
Yeah, I mean, I would say the first part needs a rewrite in terms of how it does frame up. I mean, there's certainly some words there that I think would get people maybe on both sides kind of upset about how it gets framed. Certainly I would stay away from words like settlers and things like along those lines, because I mean, this is kind of the introduction. So, I mean, to me, the introduction should be a relatively overarching welcome to the document. Here's kind of how we all work together, live together. And I would say my feelings are along the same lines as everybody, that kind of misses the tone and tenor mark that we would be looking for. So I think I'll just give that back to staff. And I think I think everyone kind of agrees at this point that needs a rework. I don't know, John, did you have any?
No, I was covering exactly what I was thinking.
Right.
I think as well, because just the wording could impact everyone's. I think we're going to have issues for everybody. It's not just a small thing. Due to simple wording could change people's opinion and outlook on the community, right? So I definitely agree that it's something we need to be mindful of.
Good. Okay, so I think we can move on from the 1.1. And is that clear enough in terms of, okay, perfect. Thank you. So I guess just going through it. So we're at 1.2. I don't know, how do you want me to go through every sections or, okay, 1.2, all right. Yeah.
You'll notice there's space for GIS. Until council begins to the bylaws off what we've been to do in the reading. GIS, we don't pull the trigger on that because that has a cost with it. So
Okay.
you see the maps are left right. We don't reflect what's already been in the OCP when that comes forward. So the text, once it's going to first reading, we'll pull the trigger on the GIS creating of the final maps. You see these blanks in here, they'll all be filled by those components, and that's the reason.
Yeah, and I imagine that's going to be another point that the committee might want to talk about is once those maps are done, because those can be quite impactful as well. Okay, so 1.3, natural features and landscape. Yes, please go ahead, Gord.
1.2.
Oh, 1.2, yes.
Just a quick question comment on Eagle River running through town. Maybe running through the community, or it doesn't like run. When people say town, they're kind of
Right.
downtown, I kind of think, but does town, what should that be?
Point, so
That be
maybe use the community to town.
Along,
Yeah.
Okay, and then the last one was CSRD. Area E, it doesn't, it would be nice to put their I know it back in further in the comments, it would be nice to put their population, area E, which is really a regional, it would just, it would be a lot more statement of the number of people in the area.
I think that's an important point.
does it date it?
To put well, I guess it could date the OCP, but I mean, you could refer back to according to the latest census, and then it doesn't date it. It gives you the context of it, but yeah.
Give Salmon Arms population.
Yeah.
And
I think that's reasonable for sure.
just a comment.
Right. It does add context to what the overall area is in terms of population and flow. Anything else on 1.2? Okay, on to 1.3, natural features and landscape. Yeah, go ahead, Gordon. Don't be shy.
We're just at the very end where it talks about hiking, biking, cross-country skiing, snowmobiling. We talk about a four-season destination. I just thought, I don't know if we want to use all-terrain vehicles or ATVing, because we're trying to grow that off-shoulder season.
No,
I just thought ATV.
that is a very good catch. So all-terrain vehicles. ATV. Okay. I think it was just ATVs you had in there.
Yeah.
All terrain vehicles, yeah. That's part of what we're trying to do with the tourism aspect as well, so. Anybody else for comments on 1.3? No? Okay. 1.4, community vision and plan foundations. Yep, go ahead, Gordon.
Just the first sentence where it goes, community statement, vision statement forms the foundation of OCP. Should be ROCP or the OCP, just
Right,
in a word in there,
typo,
Hour.
something like that.
foundation of ROCP. Yeah, and I maybe just make a comment on that. I saw quite a few little typos as we went through the document. I assume that'll be cleaned up in the final document.
Yeah.
Okay, good.
Yeah,
Obviously, we have our own notes on that too.
Yeah.
And you can send all of that to us. And
Okay.
we'll feed it back to Urban. Obviously, we don't need to talk about periods, spacing and things like
Right.
that. Focus on the content, for sure. Yeah.
yeah, in general, readers go through it and we'll get commas and things like that in, okay. Because there were quite a few little fit beats like that, so. Everybody, I just want to point out, everyone happy with the kind of the foundational statement. I think that comes directly from our strategic plan. That Sycamus is a vibrant, welcoming lakeside community that offers quality of living at every age stage of life, rooted in a small town charm and surrounded by stunning natural landscapes. We are a four-season destination, a hub opportunity where residents and visitors can live, work, and play in the heart of the Shuswap.
Part of it is, but yeah, but it definitely encompasses our branding.
Okay, just one. Yeah, sorry, hey, June, please go ahead.
Thank you. Through the chair, that summary of what our community is based on this OCP is information formed and gathered from the last year's public feedback or the consultation session. So what we're seeing over there is a summary of that entire survey being condensed into that format.
Perfect, yeah. No, I feel like it's a really good statement and kind of encapsulates as a community. Yeah. Okay, moving on. So, well, on the backside of that is the OCP foundations. So that's part of 1.4 as well. Anything there anybody has comments or concerns about? Nope, okay. Okay, 1.5, the future plan. Just kind of goes through OCP, why it's important, how it will be used. Any concern on 1.5? Yep, go ahead, Gord.
I just didn't know why we had the Columbia Shuswap Regional District in there. It was basically all to do with Sycamus. I was just curious. Maybe it just shows you is it because of the map, or wouldn't want to be focusing on
Good point.
Sycamus?
That is a good point.
It's a good point.
Just curious.
Well, he's kind of referring to the map.
14.
Yeah,
I'm just curious. You don't want to try not to complicate things.
Is that necessary for our OCP? I think is the question.
It's a context map, so it's the smallest polygon that we have GIS for that would be visible on the map of the province.
I would echo your concern because when I read it, it almost looks like District of Sycamus is underneath the CSRD and the view, it just doesn't look right.
Optics.
Yeah, well, optics and also it's just not right. So I would say how it looks like you're almost like we're our OCP is secondary too. So I think it's just something to be redone in terms of,
Easy to have a separate bubble that just.
Yeah.
Is, and keep the focus on history of seculars. Instead of having a small label that says the blue bubble is the CS. Doesn't have to have.
Good.
okay. Okay.
6.
Yeah. I was just looking at this one thing. I'll be 1.6. Okay. 1.7, creating the plan. That goes through their processes. Pretty straightforward, I think, so. Okay, so that finishes off section number 1. Number 2, engage Sycamoose at a glance. So 2.1, the key conditions and trends. Yeah, probably some discussion on this. Anybody? Gord? Yeah.
Yeah, I was just curious, the census, when is the census going to be done? Do you remember? June?
Share.
Through the chair. The census is expected to be started at 2026, so this year, May. So its end result may be available by end of year 2027.
Okay, okay.
A long time.
Yeah, I just wondered about their population change from the decrease that we have from 2031 down to 2046. It just, I mean, I don't know anything about data, but it just seems odd that it would decrease.
Yeah, June, go ahead.
Thank you for the. I believe this data is probably from like 4 or 5 years data, which back then this community didn't feature a rail trail. So I think the rail trail may affect to the population. So this may not be that accurate, I would say. It's just more of a rough estimation that was based and populated from the previous census data.
Mhm.
Okay, thank you. I'm just gonna say, like, as a document for a developer or something like that, if they see these numbers fall like that, they might go,
Mhm.
maybe I'll choose.
Yeah.
It's hard to predict. It's hard to put those on a piece of paper with confidence. So I don't know.
Well, I kind of question, like, if they're spitballing, well, which all these numbers are, I mean, it could only be that, then I would say it's not a really good spitball. Because I actually don't think it is lining up with what we're actually seeing in our development applications. And I totally agree with you, Gord, that, I mean, they're projecting out here at 2031, there's gonna be a 5% decrease. I don't know. I don't see that myself based on what we actually have. So, okay, Dean and then Gord again.
So this is a very common discussion around communities. Because these are based on overall demographics.
Mhm.
Look at your profile population,
Mhm.
based on ages, you look at national trends based on that. That's how you look at rough projections. So the demographic has an older population.
Yes, it does.
Component, and as that bubble moves through life, that bubble will decrease, and that's what creates the demographic change. So it depends if we continue to see new young families, which we've seen in the last year or two, as Jude alluded to, when the next census comes out, we'll start to see that bubble in our demographic changing, and we'll see that larger swell in the bottom, which will carry it forward. Just not at that point. So you just generally just follow what we have for demographic at our last census. The moment you begin to tinker with these, you're tinkering with the demographics. And it's not.
Well, I would understand that point, but I actually don't think their numbers on the CSRD are correct, because I've looked quite a bit at it as a business guy, and the demographics are exactly the same. Like Salmon Arm is almost identical. It's a little bit younger than, and certainly Area E and all the areas around it are basically the same demographic. So you get to a point of where What I'm questioning is the 5% drop in, nearly 5 years. I don't buy that for a moment, actually. I think that's totally wrong. Just based on what we actually have in the development queue right now, I don't see how that's gonna come forward. But I think when we're looking at these numbers, if you're going to have that, then there has to be some rigor around how they got that, not just demographic trends, because that doesn't add up to me anyways. Yeah. So, okay. So Dean and then Gord.
I think the question for the committee is to go back to urban systems, ask them to revisit this.
Yeah.
See what they've used, do a bit more analysis. We didn't sit down because this wasn't part of the focus scope. So we'll go sit down and have a more lengthy conversation and really listen to them and see if there's some adjustments that should be.
Gord.
Yeah, I agree. You go back to them and have them revisit it, I just think with the trend of immigration that we've had in Canada and the busyness of urban centers, it's got to have an effect on rural communities, and we'll start to see people moving out of the big cities, taking their home equity and putting it into a small community, and just to get away from the rat race. That's what I kind of feel. And the next Sycamoose is, I think, in a good position to be able to grow with, and it'll probably be, people that are trying to retire early out of Vancouver, sell their place for a modest, few million.
Yeah.
And move to a small community and travel and for the, in the winter time. And so I think that'll happen.
I think you're right too.
Yeah. Ditto. Did we have, sorry, I'm having a moment here. Did we have this in our last OCP? And what did it look like?
A lot.
Pardon?
We require that.
So, yeah, but, and what did it look like in the?
Good question. That's a really good one.
It'd be interesting to see their prediction last time to what they're,
Right.
what
To
they
see whether
think.
they were
Yeah,
correct as well.
exactly, because we've got actual numbers now.
Well, and we know 2021 was a 7.6% increase. 2026, 4.4. Then you do it. Yeah. Go ahead, Joe.
Just what this looks like, that, I tend to agree with Gord a lot on the whole moving out of bigger centers, but we also got like a lot of the surrounding communities that grow. They're both paying like crazy. I'm actually driving a lot. Like my personal view, like our elementary school is at the rim of its capacity, and like we're seeing that giant influx of people offering more housing, like what we're getting on Main Street. I would have to agree that that's a little review on that. It just doesn't make
Not gonna
sense.
hurt.
Yeah, go ahead, Dean.
So we were not very clear with it in our 2006 OCP. So
Okay.
we're quite a ways of doing that. And the census data was never fully incorporated. So I think whenever we go back and talk to urban system boards around the BC population data, because I think that's going to be more reflective of what you're speaking to board the last few years in our region. And we'll look to those and see how much of that was incorporated, because I didn't.
Yeah, I think these are good points because, I mean, if we just go right on the data, 2026, we're 4.4. Then you get 5 years later and if you do a 10% swing, that's what doesn't kind of add up to me. And then the other thing is I do agree that, one of the things the community has to, acknowledge is that we are an older community and we do need to diversify that down. I mean, Sycamoose is considerably older than the actual average of British Columbia, and British Columbia is already an older kind of province in Canada. So it's good to have in there as a reminder to future councils that we do need to have younger families join with our senior population and balance that out in the community as we kind of grow the community. So that's good. But I do think Gord is correct that it's an attractive place for continuing seniors to come into, right? Like if you're 60 and you have a house in in Vancouver, you might get, it's time for us to retire and we want a really nice place to live in the summer and a home base, and then other people will travel, right? And I think that is where the demographics and the desire to live in Sycamoose is going, I think. Yeah.
So, and something we have to look at too is that we used to define a senior by 65 years old.
Right.
We define a senior by 55 now. So we're taking our senior population. How old you and Todd? Anyway, the definition has changed. So it looks like we're calling it, and I don't even know if we should call it a senior pop.
Yeah, maybe.
I don't know. That word maybe should be changed to. I don't know.
To the aging gracefully.
Aging gracefully.
Corey, did you have any?
40,
I'm just,
55ers.
Yeah.
I was just thinking, like, I even have relatives that have retired at 40,
Yeah,
46.
yeah, lucky them.
Who retires at 46? I mean, you haven't even lived half your life yet. And it is getting, retirement is getting lower,
Yeah.
some people.
Well, and lifestyle changes and remote work and all of these things that have changed kind of how people live and work and where they can live and work is quite dramatic. And certainly after COVID, that continues, right?
I think senior, just the word senior or define it different, just
Yeah.
Active senior?
active, I don't know. We're calling ourselves an aging, and every community is an aging community, right? I mean, they're not popping out babies.
No, but Sycamoose does have an older one than even the whole of the province, right? It has, and I think it traditionally has. It's nice to have those numbers there because then future councils can go, hey, how can we maybe direct some recreation money or other kind of plans to attract another demographic that'll balance out the community. It's good to kind of know where you're at in that regard. So, but I think staff has gotten our points on the graphs and kind of the wrong message we think it sends. So, yeah, go ahead, Gord.
Yeah, just, I kind of thought, as Sycamoose, we do have the new housing unit, independent housing unit. But I always said that those two apartment buildings in Sycamoose that haven't gone anywhere, I've really tried to point the developers into just looking at the demographics of the baby boomers. And a lot of people years ago when we did Mare Landing said, I'd like to move my parents here, but it's just not, there's not a facility for them, not big enough facility for them. And they would move their parents here and they would have their condo, but their parents would be here and sure, they'd go home in the wintertime or they might go back to their job in the wintertime. Their parents would still be in a really, not in a busy center like Calgary or whatever. And they always said, I would move my parents here if there was a seniors facility here. And they'd be able to spend time with their parents in the summertime. So it was interesting because they leave Calgary or wherever to come here and play all summer, and they don't have their parents with them. Interesting demographics.
All right. Oh yeah, go ahead, John.
I just would agree a lot with your guys' statements all on that because like me as someone that grew up here, and I heard that all the time, senior community and whatnot. Your first thing to do, like mine was, you leave town. A lot of people, leave town because there's you're kind of not giving the right idea for kids or young adults to want to stay here, right? And keep growing. Thankfully, I did grow up here and I really love the area, so it brought me back fairly quickly. But because you want to make sure that the younger families are wanting to stay and not just. We need to focus on seniors as well.
Yeah.
I have some notes and some parts about that. But I tend to agree with you guys that the branding of that is very crucial as well.
Yeah, I think it's how you present it and how you present an overall picture. And this one, I think, got a little out of what we want to present and what actually is kind of true. And I guess that just kind of goes to the age demographics. I mean, that's all there. I think that's important, that's easily verifiable. But yeah, I can see where they've gotten it. I think what they've done is they've gone to the average age of, or the median age of Sycamoose is 57 or 57 point something. And then they've projected that out, and the natural kind of curve of life is that there's not going to really be a replacement for the people who have passed on. But I don't think that's any longer true in smaller communities. I think maybe it would have been before COVID, but now in terms of the mobility, we see people, and boomers especially on the retirement side, people are making big lifestyle changes. So yeah. Yeah, go ahead.
So, other agencies like Interior Health and senior population themselves are making bigger efforts about not relocating as a city.
Yeah.
Instead, aging in place is a new mantra for Interior Health.
Mhm.
Providing support networks so people can stay in their homes or stay in their apartments longer. Because there is not space in the care facilities to absorb the entire senior population if they suddenly all decide, but I want to go home, use out the facilities available. So they need people to age in place, so there's more support network coming from Interior Health around that. So care nurses can come to your home, come to your community. And with our health center here, we're going to see more opportunities for seniors to get the services in the community. Maybe not directly at their home, but really close by. Living in an apartment directly across the street. Go to the health center, go to the pharmacy, go to the grocery store, and back home, and then walk a grand total of 1.5 kilometers. That is really seniors' ideal living situation. It's a little modular of close proximity walking distance. It's just fantastic. You can't get that even in an urban center. So that's really special for a senior population. It's a great way to age in place.
Perfect. Okay, local economy. Anything on that? Okay. Yeah, go ahead, Gord.
I just ran the numbers there. Their numbers didn't really add up to 100%. And same with their numbers. They say 1885 and it's 1175. So I'll just leave. I'll give Nicole my notes. Nothing important.
The correct numbers are important.
Yeah, and I would also say just a format error. That graph's kind of hard to read. I don't know if it's just in terms of
In your eyes?
not 55 yet, but yeah, it could be. Yeah. Okay, well, maybe that's only my issue. Moving on.
No, it's not. No, it's not.
I think the labor force that's all standard stuff they would have gotten from.
Mhm.
Okay. So are we ready to go on to housing? Oh, sorry, go ahead, Dean.
So when we see a census data, the standard to go back and update these projections is pretty good.
Okay.
You always do at least a soft update to your OCP to reflect your census data ones. Generally, what you try and do is time your 5-year reviews to align with the census data, so you have new data, so you can project out better. So I would expect that under the new council, we'll come back to review the OCP. Once the data begins to come out in 2027, we'll be coming back to council to talk about what the actual new census data is telling us. And that's static process.
Well, and just one other thing on the population stuff is it's very interesting because I would say, that's certainly not our summer population, right? So there's two tails of Sycamoose, right? One now and one in the summer. And what our community actually has to absorb in the summer to continue to make it work as an economy is a lot more than whatever 2,700 people that we say is our full-time population. But we know in the summer that can 10x, right? Or at least 5x. So yeah, I guess, the OCP is trying to say, here's what your population, here's what the services you need for 2,700 people. But in reality, 4 months of the year, it's a lot more, at least 5 months of the year, it's a lot more than that, right? Because there is a lot of seasonality here. Go ahead, Dean.
Because of exactly what you described, things like our liquid waste management and water management cannot be driven solely on census data.
Yeah.
So we use the user data we are reflecting the actual population this year because the fluctuations are dramatic. And lots of communities have that, and most of us very much the same way. You can't just use the static population and plan your sewer plant. You can't just use the static population and plan your water services because it dramatically shifts. So you have to be able to store to the side. So for all of those types of infrastructure, we would not rely on user data. We rely on the trends from user data that we take regularly, and we analyze that through our SCADA system. Just watch the populations.
Yeah. go
That is,
ahead.
that's an interesting comment, Vic, because we're going by census here, right?
Mhm.
And you're measuring stuff by population, so maybe we should mix some population in here as well, or
Mhm.
population stats as opposed to, and when you look at this table number 3 and work activity in 2020, what does 2020? Like, sorry, so I'm kind of lost on the 2020 COVID year. So
That's an excellent point.
this doesn't speak to,
Yeah.
this doesn't speak to true.
Okay, well, I
Representation.
think that's a great point. Maybe we should maybe flag that as 2020 as a benchmark is probably not a really accurate one. Well, not probably, it isn't an accurate
No,
one.
not at all. There's 3 years there that you really are a mess.
Yes. And then talking about population, I do wonder on this people and population, whether there should be another paragraph in there highlighting the seasonality of Sycamoose,
Mhm.
because we're sure as heck a lot more than 2,700 people in July, a lot more. And yeah, I mean, I think it does need a nod to that because that's not our year-round population. We all know that. And so telling people that, hey, Sycamoose is this quiet little town is not necessary, it's not true, right? It's May long weekend to at least Labor Day. It's
Even section in the winter when the
and
sweaters
even
are
section
coming.
in the winter,
That bumps
yeah.
up the,
Well, and we know that from wastewater data too.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
Yep.
Say is maybe you can get some of that data that you guys collect and the actual user data
Oh,
and maybe grab in there at some point. You know, because we have a very good. You guys track very well, right? So we've been making good sections.
well, it's 50%. I mean, Daryl's been at council and it's 50% drop off of like just wastewater flow. Like it's dramatic. Yeah. So yeah, go ahead.
What we were doing a little bit waste management.
Yeah.
So when we do that, the next steps to be out to feed those kinds of studies. We just don't have that study today. We haven't the study done.
Yeah.
We're just basically on the SCADA data, which is just how our plants are analyzing the flow rates. So there's not a summaries analysis that we can incorporate into our RCP at this point. Once you have a liquid waste management plan, you can have liquid waste, and from that you can extrapolate the number of people. The trend has been not just that there's more people here, it's that people are staying longer.
Yes.
That has actually been the more impactful piece, is yes, we're getting more people here, and that's impactful, but more importantly, those people are staying longer. So instead of staying 2 weeks, we're seeing 4 to 6 weeks. They're staying here in long blocks, they're not going to other locations that they have. So they're staying here longer, and that's where the trend of the wastewater treatment plant has had a lot more liquid as a result of people staying longer.
Okay. I guess we'll be done with that section. So all those points make sense to staff and feedback there. Okay. So moving on to housing. Go ahead, Gordon.
Yeah, I just was concerned about the numbers. They said that the apartment units more than doubled between 2016 and 2021. The 2004 to 2008 or something like that, because that's pretty much when they're talking apartments. I mean, we haven't had any purpose-built apartments here for 50 years. But we're talking condos.
42.
Yeah, condos, those were all, I mean, the influx of them, you know, like the Narrows and Side and Riverside and Mare Landing, they all came and finished up around 2006. So yeah, that date, 2016 to 2021, it's just, I was unsure about.
That's a very solid point on that as well. You know, grand majority of those are not apartment units. Most of them are seasonal.
Yeah, right.
Condos, you know.
Yeah, very seasonal condos. I agree with you there. Yeah. I guess that just all goes back to the population thing. I mean, when we do census, right? A lot of that is not captured in the census, is this full peak sycamoose, right? Which is a reality in our community. Okay. Well, a lot of this is from the housing needs assessment that. Yep, go ahead.
Just gonna ask Dean and Nicole, how often, I know we did that needs assessment report back in 2022. When would you do another one? Like, do you do it when there's growth like we're seeing or June?
The next one is expected to happen in 2028. It has been mandated to, for municipality to deliver that, assessment report every 5 years.
Thank you.
Okay.
Just.
Yep.
That doesn't mean that we're doing analysis on a regular basis to report to council. State of the union kind of idea. Where we're at, that's just next when we'll do the formal assessment that we submit to the province. We're always analyzing. And then what we'll see from the bill. So we'll always update council. As far as housing in particular. As projects come through, that's really critical because that's important information for both the Canadian council as they receive new applications to understand the context of where that means in their needs for them.
Okay, attainable housing policies. These are all things that have been largely vetted at council. Okay, anything else? No? All right, number 4, growth management strategy. Yep, are you sure? Okay. No worries. That's why we're doing this way. Anybody have anything on?
Oh, sorry.
Okay, fire away. Well, yeah, no, we can go back to 3. Yeah.
They usually like think about years. They'll contribute to the affordability. One of the, I'm not sure if people really think this, but one of the other groups I really think we need to be addressing with this, because now that we've eliminated the haven on the haven.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We've eliminated the haven, now we've kind of removed an area and a very big part of our community for the seniors with Meals on Wheels program. I'm not sure what the name of it is.
I think it is.
It's operating over there.
Mhm.
You know, with the new building we put in, we don't have any to go with that. You know, and there's a lot of seniors that actually rely on the meals from that.
Dean probably
Yes,
has.
go ahead, Dean.
Speaking, there is a separate society, because the Meals no Ways. They are working with the seniors facility that has the kitchen to try and cooperatively work and have the operation continue to operate out of the senior center. Out of their kitchen there. I haven't had an update on that being finalized, but that's being worked.
Well, my point mainly was like, we as a community are supporting the housing. I'm just wondering if there's a way we can support the meal side of it a little bit or two. I thought that I agree with that one a little bit, but you know, it's pretty major because I know a lot of people are taking that meal and having it for 2 days type thing, right? 'Cause it's, I don't know.
Yeah, so are you thinking, yeah, go ahead, Gord.
Yeah, no, I agree with John. It is a big part of the seniors program and they are, like Herb Himmelspec, fellow that's kind of been spearheading it, concerned about the haven being lost. And then the senior center is looking at, bringing them on, but also the resource center is also looking at them, looking at the Meals on Wheels program. But it is a big part of the seniors, that rely on it for sure.
I think they feed 63.
I think so. Yeah, Dean, go ahead.
63. Yes.
This particular section of the OCP is housing.
Okay.
So when we get to
Yeah.
the OCP, supporting the community networks is important. But the example they used is this is about housing. So we have other not-for-profit organizations that come into the community that are focused on housing, they would still fit into this policy criteria because it's supporting nonprofit organizations. So if you have another nonprofit organization come in, you've only got this one as an example. This is the section particularly about housing. So when you get into other community amenities, that's when you can look at the broader network of their other societies that provide services that are important, not just physically important. This particular section was about housing.
Like I said, I just didn't know where that.
Where to fit it in.
I don't really spark that part.
It's an excellent point.
Oh, good.
Excellent point. Okay, so growth management, overview, objectives. I guess one of the things that I'd say here is that, sorry, no, you go ahead first. I'm chairing. I don't get to speak first.
Yeah, the growth management boundary.
Yeah.
We're kind of restrained in Sycamoose because we have the LR, and then we also have the hillsides. So we don't have a lot of growth areas that we can, I mean, we do have some big empty lots in town, but you know, if we're thinking of the future and expanding the growth management boundary, I know at some point the ALC has to come into play, and I just see what happens in Kelowna and Vernon, and yeah, all the orchards are getting wiped out and the apartments are going up, and they seem to get stuff out of the ALR, and I just kind of thought that you know, we should at least put it in our OCP that, you know, so much a percentage of our town is ALC or ALR, I mean. And expanding the growth management boundary, I think we should include Old Town Bay, like, you know, where we tried to put the campground in. I mean, it's all treed area that's, you can't farm it, you know, nobody's farming it, you can't farm it. And there's lots of places in town that are, I guess you want to say, ALC, like even by Capel over there, as you go down Capel, next to the Northways property, that field hasn't been farmed in, I don't know how long. The trees are growing up, their bushes are, you know, we should be including that in our growth management boundary, just to give ALC notice that we want to expand. And, I mean, if it's not going to be farmed, you know, I always, you know, and you know, people who buy these, you know, properties for holding, but if it's not going to be farmed and, you know, I just think we should expand our boundaries a little bit or put notice in there.
Todd, did you have something?
Yeah, I agree with Gord. Like a lot of this ALC land, like even the piece, you know, on the highway out by D Dutchman Dairy there, by the Cal Tire, like it's not getting farmed.
Mhm.
There's I just, if we're gonna grow, we're gonna have to expand into these areas, and why are we not gonna expand into them if they're not being farmed?
Gord, go ahead.
Yeah, you're right, Todd. And the other area that I highlighted on my map is, I don't know if it's 100 meters or 200 meters on either side of the Trans-Canada Highway. That is, that's the only way our highway commercial can grow. I mean, it can, you know, it should grow that way. It is, so, you know, I think that either side of the highway, the Rokosh's property that's never farmed, or it's farmed once in a blue moon, or even the Malmus property. It is, but just whether it's 100 meters or 60 meters on either side of the Trans-Canada Highway, I think it should be put in our expansion on for that myself.
Colleen and then Dean.
So while we're talking about this, are we premature here? Because we do need a highway corridor. And we have no idea what that's gonna look like. So we can put all of this into ALR or take it out or ask for it, but what does our corridor look like? Like, we really need to get after MOTT. to find out what that looks like. And then from there, we can build out. But some of that property is going to be used for highway. So I don't know, I think this might be just a little tiny bit.
Dean?
And big comment that I can understand the desire to grow on highway corridors and into the ALR lands. For the purposes of this OCP, you can't show ALR for development. It's what it's in the ALR. If you want to do a corridor study or another process, we then apply to the ALC, have the lands excluded. Once it's excluded, then you can put in your OCP as development land. It's a very clear direction. We can't propose to the province land for development that's within the ALR. It has to meet the ALC's requirements. If in the future we want to apply to have land removed from the ALC with the property owner's approval, we can make those applications. But you can't just go ahead and put it in the OCP as being a future development because of the way this gets approved. It has to be endorsed by the ALC, endorsed by the province. It will not endorse it or approve it if it shows growth plans going to ALR land in advance of exclusion applications.
Yeah, Nicole.
Yeah, thank you to the chair. I think to like the amending anything to do with the growth management boundary with more this brush, that would be like a whole other project on its own.
Yeah.
We're not saying you can't explore, but wasn't a part of this.
I wonder, I'm looking at like point number 5, conflict minimization and land use. You know, I appreciate what everyone's saying. I agree. I think at some point, this is something that is holding Sycamoose
Yeah.
back is some of the lands that are here under ALR are just not farmable, but they're within that. And I think that's a future conversation. I know it's not for the OCP, but I wonder, you know, do we have to do all of these things like number 6, like the conflict, you know, minimization? No, I don't know if we necessarily have to do that or put policies in to protect these lands that are actually not agriculture. They're just holding and they're sitting there. So why do we kind of go above and beyond to make sure we do things like number 5? Because there isn't any intensive agriculture there. That's from most of the property on this map. You look at it, it's just been in the ALR. Actually, councils have been trying to get it out of ALR and other people have been to use for housing and development, but we just constantly get shot down. So, Dean, yeah.
You're not alone. I was in Kelowna for 7 years. We had long discussions about this issue. The legislation at the ALC directs that it's up to the adjacent landowner to buffer and protect the agricultural land, not the agricultural land itself.
Mm.
So buffering and all those components are required to be on the adjacent parcel, not the parcel that the farming is taking place on. So this is very provincially contested on how this takes place, but it is currently in legislation required. So we can't just alter it.
Fair enough.
But you're not alone. There's a number of municipalities that have significant concerns with it. Kelowna had to create 15-meter buffers from farm fields that had never been farmed, never been likely ever going to be farmed. They're holding properties. So they're very contentious there. Use of housing building. So you got to create these large buffers. There's no traction with this point. In the future, there may be, and as Nicole has alluded to, this whole idea around growth management, we're going to have to revisit it. When you do a full OCP update, not just this one we're doing, which will come with your new census data, we'll do the updated calculation, and then that's when we'll take your management.
So I wonder if I just suggest something. Somewhere in one of these paragraphs, kind of signal that we feel like these policies aren't working for Sycamoose, or we feel like they need to be another look at. I don't know, whatever way we could kind of drop something in, even under growth management, saying, you know, reforms should be made to ALC land. Or is that going to just get us turned down?
It would be a great resolution for this.
Right.
That's a good idea.
Those are the good caveats for it. Your OCP is your official community plan for the community. It's a legislative required document. So you can't put those kinds of comments in it. and have it go through. So those are political comments that are valid, but should be done through Silva and UBCM, so you get traction on them. It shouldn't wait for 5 years for an update. It should be something that council can put through Silva, go to UBCM and put this on the table. I think there'd be a lot of communities who would support it.
Well, Dean, you're no fun on this section. Okay, Colleen and then, oh yeah, sorry.
Todd.
Sorry, Todd, Colleen and then Gord.
On 4.12C, it says the district does not support ALR exclusion on the rural side of the GMB. Why would we not support that?
Sorry, which one was that, Todd?
4.12C.
Yeah.
0.12.
Does not support ALR exclusion applications on the rural side of the GMB. Why are we not supporting that? Why is that even in there?
That's in the existing OCP,
Oh.
so most of this section has been carried over, maybe modernized a bit, but it's in the existing OCP.
Okay.
The rationale behind that. Like, there's lands within the growth management boundary that could be set for development that are in the ALC, and then stuff that is outside the growth management boundary that are in the ALC isn't set for that. And that's why it's saying that we would not support that, because we already have stuff within the growth management boundary that we would.
Yeah, Gord and then Colleen.
Colleen's friend.
No, I'm good.
Yeah, through the chair, I had that one too. June, can you bring that map up, this map here, the one with the growth management boundary? Because I had that highlighted in mine as well, Todd. But on this one here, just this area here is all gonna be developed in here.
Yeah.
At Old Town Bay, so that boundary could come out here in Old Town Bay. I mean, there's even development up here, which is an ALR. And in here, there might be, you could even carry it on in here to here. And then, even, over at, 2 Mile, there's also, a little bit more. This property, a little bit more, sorry. This property here is tied to this property, so the boundary could come across here and come up here. You might not want to include anything in here. You might even include this property here, which is, Sycamore's Hostables. They've been developing there for a while.
Or you might want to be more specific. I don't know if Todd can see you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I was just talking about the 2 Mile one.
Yeah.
It's only on the lake side of the highway. It should be on the other side of the highway too, because they're developing there. They're putting in a campground or they're putting in whatever they're planning. That should be inside the growth management boundary. And like I said, with Old Town Bay, there's areas at Old Town Bay that are for sale and our hotels are looking at them and they're not even in the hotel. This area here is not even in the growth management. If they decide to put a hotel in here,
That's right behind them, or right to the
that's
south of the.
that's where the campground is as you go into Old Town Bay. That should be inside the boundary as well. And then I had a couple other spots on my thing here. 2 Mile, even on the other side of the channel. I mean, you might as well, could you not extend that? This property here, on here,
That's on the west side,
yeah, on the west side of the channel.
whereabouts?
Yeah, as you go along the rail trail, like above Jim Model's place, that's all developable. We've had a couple of developers looking.
Yeah,
at
we
that
did.
property as well.
Yeah.
On this side, these big lots right here, that should be inside the growth management boundary. So I got it highlighted on here too. And I'll give you my notes.
Go ahead, Dean.
So, two comments. The growth management plan is not part of this. Certainly do that. So we have not put that out to the public, so it'll be a whole consultation process we have to do. We've got a number of properties that are by property owners. We have to have consultation. So just do that would have a ramification to that. It also changes our infrastructure. So as soon as you signal your OCP areas of growth, you have to plan infrastructure. So you need to begin to look at sewer management, water management, roads, utilities, all of those components which have financial ramifications for the district. So it's not as simple as just leaving a line on a map. There's a lot of work that has to go into the background. Your sewer plant capacity, your water plant capacity, the infrastructure pipe networks, what upgrades are required to deliver those polygons. So there is, I understand the desire for additional areas for growth, but premature in that we haven't done the studies as part of this review that would support making that change, and we haven't done the consultation, which is a very important piece. As far as the LC component, anything that's in the ALR, we need to signal that we're not gonna support exclusions of ALR lands. That doesn't mean that council can't make a decision on exclusion, but it's an important signaling for the ALC and our consultation with them. Because when we need the ALC, if we don't have those types of policies, which are guidance recommended within our OCP, we're gonna have troubles with when we need the ALC. Like right now, with Grid 4, we need to get ALC approval for it. These are important relationships for us to maintain. If we signal that the ALC exclusion applications are gonna be supported, we're the only ones that can do it. That's the second part of that problem. We would have to make an application. We've got a number of property owners that have come to us over the years and said, I want the district to either buy my land or make the application to get our land out. That puts us in a tense situation if we begin to signal that's what we want to do. You're gonna put councils in the future in a rough position as far as what you're signaling through your OCP. I wouldn't recommend going away from the not supporting exclusion. That doesn't mean the OCP is not the stone tablet document, it is a guidance document. So if you decide as a council you wish to have an exclusion application supported, you've got a whole host of other OCP reasons why you want to support it, you can certainly do that. That is a bit able to, the OCP doesn't clearly say you cannot do it. But you would support it unless there's some other reason to do it. So I think these comments are important to keep in your OCP, because they do help us with the ALC. We have to work with the ALC on a regular basis to get things done that we need to get done in this community. So I wouldn't recommend moving away from those recommended policies. You have the ability to do what you need to do. But if we have an application that comes forward, or even like Gord was mentioning, these corridor properties, if there was an application that came forward, ticked a whole bunch of other boxes, this policy is not going to preclude council from supporting an ALC exclusion application. It's just what you signal to the general public is going to be different for the guidelines. And you're going to have some of these people that have come forward in the past for the district to purchase their property and get excluded and build things on.
Yeah, very good points, and thank you for that, Dean.
Can I just give staff a takeaway from this?
Sure.
Can we look at the SILGA resolutions once they're out and see if there's any ALR issues in those that we should speak to or write support letters for? And as well, maybe put a resolution together for UBCM working towards removing some of this land or
Right.
ALR land.
Yeah, some of the
Again,
discussions
commercial.
that we
Yeah,
had.
exactly. Thank you. That's all.
Okay, just anything else on this section before we go to future land use? Yeah, sorry, yeah, Todd, do you have your hand up?
Nope, I'm good.
Okay, all right, moving on then, future land use. Oh, land use designations,
We got it here.
summary table.
Oh, this one's.
Yep, go ahead, Gord.
I just have a word with that. Passive recreation. Here's the hell. I mean,
Passive
not
recreation?
non-motorized. Passive recreation is non-motorized. And I don't know if there's another word we can use instead of passive, but it's scary. We're a motorized community and, we're becoming non-motorized. We got the rail trail and we got the bike park, but passive recreation kind of scares me. I just thought I'd let you know that. And I've highlighted it for Nicole.
Hey, we don't want to be passive, get that?
Sorry.
Oh, it's in here about 5 times. And I've highlighted it on each time for you.
It's under the table as well, that table.
Can you point out one area here, Gord? I'm looking.
On page 37, under Parks and Recreation,
Yep.
I know it says active and passive recreation, but there's other areas in the area. I know we don't want motorized in parks. We do want recreation.
Oh, yeah, passive, active and passive recreation.
So
So
I guess, yeah, go ahead, Dean.
the context of that wording is recreation. It's more in the context of structured versus unstructured. So our nature park versus Phillips. So the active park would be Phillips Park, passive. Passive park still includes trails and other sort of pieces to it, but it's not programmed space. We're not gonna be running ball tournaments. Well, so that is the difference between active and passive in this context. It's not intended to exclude motorized or motorized is permitted. It's that we wouldn't have a structured ATV program going to each park or at a place where we have active trails that allow motorized vehicles. But we would at an active park. So if it's in Owlhead or wherever it is that we have motorized vehicles permitted, this would not exclude. It's more about how that space is created than having trails.
So it's really not program space is what you're saying.
Program versus, it used to be called program versus unprogram.
Right.
It was changed from to active and passive for 15 years ago. I have no idea why. So proliferation is brilliance.
Yeah.
Moving forward, but the language is similar.
It's definitely that. Go ahead.
Well, yeah, just an example of parks and recreation, like, you know, sometimes you gotta be careful when you say passive recreation. Even an electric motor is classified as motorized. So if let's say the developer decides he's gonna contribute to a bridge across the Eagle River and it's gonna come into the nature park. We might want a corridor along there that golf carts are allowed, right? Electric golf carts or electric, electric scooters. So you want to just give caution to, you can't passive. I know if you look at CSRD's definition of a passive recreation, it's very firm that it's non-motorized, right? No motors whatsoever. So whether it be a gas or electric, you got to be careful about that.
So your issue is that the passive is a bit of a loaded term. That means a lot of different things.
Yeah.
Okay.
As long as we continue to maintain policy on how you implement this. CSRD is the policy of how you interpret it. So if you have a policy that interprets it, you don't necessarily have to have that same policy. Trails are trails. Trails are in passive parks all over the place. How you utilize those trails and the policy around those trails should be differentiated by where that trail is located. If there's an example you use, you have a bridge that would provide access for golf carts and other uses in it, policy of the district can reflect on that trail. That's not directed whether it's passive or not. It'd still be a passive park that it's traveling through. It's transportation corridor. It's not a active park use. So unless if we began bringing policy forward that said that all passive park spaces with non-motorized and no vehicles where motorized can be permitted, that would be a council decision on that particular policy. So we're not proposing that type of policy. That certainly hasn't been reflective of the uses Sycamoose to date, and we would expect that change to come forward simply because the OCP references passive versus active.
Okay.
It's not about that.
I do understand Gord's point though, because the language does matter. And I've seen this creep into government over and over and over and over again, is that you change one term and then it creates a expectation that that's what it is, right? And I think that's what you may be getting at, Gord. And I can see how you use certain terms, then you say, well, mean that because our policy. And that's where you get people pushing kind of the envelopes. And I think this has happened right throughout government saying, well, passive means you should not have motorized vehicles, you should not have this. And I wonder, should we use that term if that's actually not what we mean? Because that is potentially a term that defines things. We know it doesn't, and I appreciate your point, but I wonder if that's something that we want to start using. Because it does set up a certain level of expectation, and that's language a lot of times does matter. Yeah, go ahead, Dean.
So we've got a neighborhood plan, a park plan that we're made for this. But overall, we need a parks plan for the community. Parks and recreation plan for the community would be with a sort of finer tooth of saw instead of cutting. So you've got the OCP and the finer tooth would come through a parks and recreation plan. So that level of plan would be beginning to delineate what spaces we're going to be for what type of park and what they're going to be utilized for. So I think you gotta be cautious on how much detail you get in the OCD because it's a higher level plan. And although I can understand passive, we wanna make sure that's clear, that doesn't exclude. You also wanna be clear that doesn't include. You know, you got some small parks downtown, we probably would not prefer not to have side by sides going through it. So, no, it's the finer tooth that's gonna come with that parks plan.
Everybody good on that point? Okay. All right. Land use designations, designation areas. You have something on that, Gordon? Yep.
I was just gonna ask, June or Nicole about the, area of size. Did you want us to put in the acreages size or it says hectares, how many hectares? Or are they gonna, we gonna come up with some numbers?
Go ahead.
Thank you through the chair. We are currently calculating through a GIS that how much amount of areas with the new OCP designations will be proportionate to each designations is coming along. Do you have a question in regards to the unit that we picked, which is in hectare? No?
Not at all. I'm just curious. Wanted us to fill in the designate that size.
This again is back to that GIS issue. Is it cost to do this or so if we want to do it once, not multiple times, so once council has given their preliminary approval of the draft, the final GIS will be done, and that will populate the tables. So those are, if you have a change in land uses.
Fair enough. Okay, yeah, go.
Yeah, just one other one about item 2, protected sensitive lands, where it says discourage development on steep slopes, hazardous lands, environmental sensitive areas, and riparian ones. Pretty much like 90-something% of Sycamoose waterfront is developed already. And we have some really key proposal, like pieces of property, whether it be the old Three Boy site or next to the Grandview or even at 2 Mile. Why would we discourage development in those riparian areas? Like not riparian areas, but you know, those are key. We gotta get, you know, maybe I discourage development in sensitive areas, but I don't discourage development in sensitive areas or areas that are still developable. You know what I mean?
Go ahead.
Yeah, the whole channel is a riparian area.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay,
And
let's hear from Dean and then we'll get into the discussion. Dean, did you have any?
So I think this is reflective of the legislation. So this is more reflective of legislation. And the word is discourage and prohibit. So I think that the word is the important. That's the important word. The reason it's discouraged is because of legislation. So riparian areas have a level of protection that's in the legislation. As long as you meet the legislation and meet the criteria that you're allowed to develop in that area, you're discouraged from doing more than what you're permitted to do.
Okay.
Steep slopes, anything over 30% slope, you shouldn't really be doing well. That is problematic. So as a community, you do not want to be developing on steep slopes. There's a whole host of reasons. We're going to go over that as a PDC. We can do that analysis on 219 covenants and on steep slopes and how we analyze those kinds of criteria. There is criteria within the Engineers Association of BC's guidelines that we need to adhere to for the safety of the community as well as the safety of developments as well. So steep slopes are important. You'll notice it doesn't say steep slopes over a certain percentage. This is just steep slopes. It's just discouraging. So we don't want to encourage development taking place on really steep slopes. But not all steep slopes are the same. If it's rock bluff, it's different than if it's just an unstable slope. So what is the context of it? And this particular comment would be again where we get a geotechnical engineer to provide a study. It doesn't mean that we're prohibited from ever doing development on steep areas. It's that you want to discourage it, and where you are going to get it, you want to use this policy as a way to ensure that you have the correct professionals do the reviews. You've got the geotech reports, you've got the analysis, you've got the hydrogeotechnical components, so you're making it safe. That's the intent.
Todd, go ahead.
Yeah, I was just thinking about on the discourage. I know it's for BC's legislation, but I mean, we got to run Sycamoose the way we want to run Sycamoose, not the way BC wants to run Sycamoose. So I don't know, I think it should come out, like half of Sicamous is a riparian area. And it's all got development on it.
Okay.
So
I-
I just don't agree with that. We're discouraging, I mean, we're looking at Sneeze, for example. We're looking at trying to take the economic areas on the riparian areas and make it better for both the nature and economics. But I mean, if you take the channel, for example, why would we discourage growth along the channel, the Sicamous Narrows?
Yep, good point. And right there. And I guess the only other thing I'll just direct to you is our definition of hazardous, right? That matters too, because you can say, well, it's in a fire hazard area or it's in a flood hazard area. So maybe you can address that as well, because I found that potentially extremely broad, because you could almost define anything as hazardous potentially. Anyways, go ahead, Dee.
Two parts. The hazardous has actually a definition for engineers. It's based on geotechnical hazards. So there's specific criteria within their guidelines that.
So it's only geotechnical hazards?
Hazardous can also be contaminated. As definition, we certainly provide the parameters.
Okay.
I'd like to see that. We can certainly wordsmith discourage. I don't think discourage is the have and end all word. I understand what Todd is saying. That's we certainly go back and look at the word. Discourage may not be the correct word.
I think that would be good. I think everyone's nodding about that one.
Actual statement, whereas where there are steep slopes, hazardous lands, environmentally sensitive areas, and riparian areas that we have the development shall follow professional reporting. Something to that extent that's not as negative.
I think
I
you're
agree.
correct. So Gord and then Nicole.
Yeah, I just gonna, because it's a policy, 5.22, item 1, and then item 2, it says protect sensitive lands. I just crossed out discourage development and just put protect sensitive lands on steep slopes, hazardous lands, environmental sensitive areas, and riparian ones. Well, yeah, we all want to protect our sensitive areas, whether it be land or water, but we don't. I think we could just drop the word discourage development and just have on steep slopes,
Okay.
That's my thought.
That's a good thought.
Okay.
I
Moving on, anything else in this section? Maintain land supply. All right, so 5.3 residential designations. This is probably a lot that has to do with, the legislation mandated. Yeah, sorry, go ahead, John. Yeah.
Might be just a silly question on this one, but it's just going through like the low density designation on the there allows with per hectare. 15 to 50 units. If you go to 50 units in a hectare, how is that low density?
Yeah, you're.
That's true. Good point.
Good point on that.
You-
Units per hectare, you're right. Yeah.
Yeah, they're 15 units.
Go ahead, June.
Thank you. Sure. It's not a typo. So just a range of a 15 to 50. It's a relatively broad range, but the way it was calculated is in relation to the SSMH, the Bill 44. So that provide the ground for us to consider the further in that intensification of a lot, like typical residential lot, to sometimes 3 to 4, and some depending on the population and the municipal capacity, they allow like up to 6 or some sort. So that range is given just to find the general tree street density to the density that can accommodate the infill development per the SSMH consideration.
Go ahead, Dean.
So key factor of this is this allows the council, future council to approve zoning that allows for higher density in either specific circumstances if they choose to. This policy does not establish a location for 50 units per hectare. This allows the council to bring forward a bylaw if they choose to, or zoning bylaw to allow for a higher level of density. That's what the province says. You can't have OCP policy prohibits it. This is not enabling it, but it is allowing for it. So if in the future council decides, and you can't always think about 1 hectare of suddenly having 50 units on it. Think of it as a scale down to 1 lot having 4 units on it, or if you do the math to it, it exceeds the density applications per hectare. This doesn't necessarily mean it's a smaller scale, but that's council's zoning approval. So this doesn't automatically give zoning rights. It just gives council approval authority in the future without amending the OCP. So that's what the province has asked for the OCP to allow councils to be able to approve this and not have it specifically prohibited at this time.
And it would exclude an OCP amendment to allow it, right?
Okay.
Correct.
The intent from the province is to reduce length of time for an approval for a housing project by requiring OCPs to be more general. So to have broader parameters so that the OCP, because that process still has public hearings, it has a whole host of consultation requirements. So that's what the province is trying to eliminate as the OCP limitation by development processes. It's not going to automatically allow for 50 units per hectare on every land. That has to be zoned. Doesn't automatically, this whole amendment does not create the zoning. That's the next discussion. Is the zoning button.
Yeah, June.
Thank you, through the chair. Just to give a context, for example, just typical residential lot, which are under R-1 zoning, which I believe their OCP designations are also low density residential these days. Per 1 hectare, there are 10 to 12 units. So for example, right now our general residential zoning allows somebody to accommodate up to 2 dwelling. That is already like 20 to 24. And then if in the future the district considers to unlock additional 3 to 4, that started to become like 40 to 50 range. So that's the reason why how that range was calculated.
Yeah, John.
Thank you guys for the clarification on that. I was just, just thinking of our discussion we recently had over on that facility on Capel number.
Right, yes.
I think, okay, units in, I'm like, oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Oh, God.
Actually, very good. The intent is not to bring legislation, create higher level planning that allows it everywhere. All it does is allows council in a special circumstance where they have the zoning comes forward. But there's 4 units that make really good sense on a property that's too small, they can have the process. Just be allowed to have a zoning approval. Still has to go through the zoning process. There's still has to be public input opportunity. There still has to be council resolution. It doesn't have to go through the OCP process. That's the intent.
Okay, I'm good on that. We got medium density. Okay. 5.4 commercial and industrial designations. Okay, go on to town center. Objectives, policies. These look fairly similar to our last OCP. I don't think we've touched any of this stuff, have we? No. Yep, go ahead, Gord.
We're on town centers, did you say?
Yep.
Yeah, that, I just wanted to, I know we kind of got in a little bit of a pickle when we started building that building on Main Street with the building masses and also the shadow impact. Do we have to be cautious about that in here or just keep it in here?
Yeah, go ahead, Dean.
I think that's been highlighted over the last few months, last year since I got here, that we do need to undertake a town center plan. We have this discussion came up with 2 Phillips Center, we've got some Main Street properties. There is a need for that neighborhood plan to get. This is the high level plan, the neighborhood plan slides underneath it. So that is the next step. I would expect that part of the recommendations we would make to the next council is that they plan for a neighborhood planning process from 2027 onwards. Do the consultation through a neighborhood plan, to develop a neighborhood plan. Now we've had inserted as a layer underneath the speed, provides more detailed parameters. We can do a little bit further analysis on shadow analysis. I think we also have to do some work on green space as well as infrastructure downtown. So I think there's a mandate for a neighborhood plan that's very warranted.
Thank you.
Yeah, go ahead, Jim.
Thank you, through the chair. Just adding additional information on the shadow studies or the general overall building, the form and characterness of it. There's a very gentle languages that we have particularly calibrated to accommodate number of the buildings or format that may not particularly fit per the zoning bylaw. But through the introduction and calibration of a certain terms and language in the official community plan, there is a instrument that can provide the flexibility from the council and then the district staff to provide if the development features number of benefits that can be deemed appropriate by the community. So there is that mechanism. So there is a little flexibility on that as well.
Thank you. Thank you.
Are we good on this? Okay. Health center, waterfront commercial. Yeah, go ahead.
I think we have in here where we've got the waterfront walkway that we talk about, and previous council has always said we're gonna leave commercial space on Riverside so that we can have a walkway that has some coffee shops and stuff like that. And we haven't done that. So I guess I just want to address the walkway. Like, we keep having discussions with property owners about, you know, the space that they have to give to the DOS. And then we still have businesses on Riverfront that still need to run. Like, if you look at Papa's and how they launch their boats, they're a valet service. That's not going to go away. So it's pieced together and going across three boat launches. It's also, you get in front of the Narrows, the condo, the Narrows, and it's a very narrow strip. Like, it just seems to be we're struggling to do this, but it doesn't seem to be coming together really well. Those are just my thoughts on it.
Gord?
Yeah, I agree. This gotta be the next council's strategic priority. We have to get this walkway done, and we'll never get it done if we don't focus on it. So I had it highlighted as well. And I know I remember when we did the development, we wanted to put in a big walkway, and the district didn't want us to. They just wanted us to give the waterfront the 3 meters to them, which was fine. But we wanted to have a walkway out front, and we struggled with that with Mike Mars, and so we need, and I know there is some businesses that are on there that still have to operate. So we have to talk to them. We have to get out and work with them. I know, they do it in Kelowna. The waterfront walkway still goes past the boat launches in Kelowna. We just gotta come up with a plan for them. And I'm not sure how we're gonna get this walkway done, but if we wait for everybody, it probably won't happen in my lifetime, for sure. And it would be nice to have this waterfront walkway, and we really need to focus on it, I think.
Go ahead, Dean.
The ability of constructing a contiguous walkway from Barton all the way back to Bridge. 20 years is not high. And you've got a number of buildings that would have to be removed. Cost of the district to purchase the properties in order to do that would prohibit it. So establishing the full length of the walkway. Since it started here, we've begun to not require reconstruction of the walkway. We're just simply getting the rights to it through a statutory right of way. So that when we're ready, we have a connective piece, then we'll build it. But infrastructure that gets built either gets used or it deteriorates. So until you have a continuous piece of walkway people can walk on, you don't want a section built. Day it's finished, you're gonna have to take on maintenance responsibility for it. So until there's a contiguous piece, when you start to look at what's contiguous, as been pointed out, you've got some well-established businesses that have to cease operations in order for the walkway to be constructed. And they won't be able to continue their operations walkway constructed across it. But I don't think it's bad policy to remain in the OCP if you wish. You want to remove it, I think that's a discussion that has to take place. I don't think this is the place to do it. I would suggest that you want to bring them forward, likely for the future council to decide whether this gets amended in the OCP. I think your waterfront plan is another sort of area that needs some work. I think we need to look at this. We've identified the commercial, the way the commercial is framed, and how that relates to Riverside is not ideal either. The intent originally was to have commercial that interacted with the walkway more directly to the channel frontage. Whether that's applicable today, I mean, we've got new developments that have taken place. I think it's worth an analysis. I think it's worth having a look at. Having Riverside as the only transportation corridor to access limits the viability of commercial on the channel. So, you know, can you get a restaurant to work that only has access from a walkway on the channel? This is a struggle in other places I'm looking at right now. Example he uses in Kelowna, where you've got restaurants, pubs, and bars trying to open up on the rail trail there that don't have direct street access, just from the rail trail. It's a challenge. You don't have, you think you've got seasonality in seconds. Think about the seasonality of being on the channel on a walkway and what that does to your business model.
Yeah.
So I think that it's just something that takes more analysis. I think it's definitely worthwhile looking at it. It's certainly worthwhile taking a closer look because the viability of constructing that trail in the next 20 years is very limited. I'm not expecting that many of those businesses are interested in selling business. I'm certainly not expecting the council to be interested in putting forward the dollars required to do that.
Todd.
Yeah, I kind of agree with what Dean's saying. I mean, I think there was just another housing project approved on the old waterway site, and I didn't see any commercial in that. Is there any commercial going in that?
No.
So, I mean, I think we need to look at this and decide whether we're going to do it or not going to do it, because right now there is no commercial areas on that walkway except for Moose Mulligan's.
Yep. Gord, go ahead.
Yeah, through the chair, Dean, did the new waterways property, didn't they commit? I think it was in their DP that they were going to have a commercial office, but that's on Wet Up Street and on the waterfront, and that was going to be their marina office or something like that. That was the only commercial aspect, right?
If it's not a proposal for commercial, it would be frontage per se to the walkway.
Office, yeah.
It's an office for the marina.
Okay. Yeah, I agree with Todd. We either do it or we don't do it, but it's got to be, the conversation has to happen. Like I think we need to sit down with the waterfront owners, whether it be the strata or the commercial operators and just, you know, talk to them and see, because, you know, like what they did at Portside, I mean, the walkway's over top of the water. Like it's, you know, I mean, the district's walkway there is now over top of the water. People walk down from Main Street Landing, and they can walk from the beach park when the bridge isn't under construction, but they can watch all the way from Silver Sands under the bridge, you know, down the alleyway that we've designated a walkway between the marina and you know, the Brenda Dazell's place. And then they get to the waterfront and they go back out and they walk right over top of the water. And that could happen in front of places like, you know, like even Todd's old place, that TA structure, or not TA structures, the old Twin Anchors Marina. It could still happen out front of their property if we did it right, like they did in Salmon Arm. They put an elevated walkway over top of the Habitat foreshore, and it goes all the way down in front of the seniors projects. It's beautiful. It's been there forever, and it'll last forever if we just start the process.
Go ahead, Dean.
I think, you know, that it's a very valid point. There is other ways to do it. There is a whole process we need to take a look at that. So I just would recommend that the committee wait for this, not do that as part of this, and wait to look at that at further analysis, because there's a whole host of provincial approvals to go over top of waterways. So that is a whole nother kind of component of discussion. You're building over top of the waterway. We're essentially taking like a remit permit, we would need to do that. So that's sort of a whole other conversation. And what that means as far as waterfront and what that means as far as commercial connectivity, I'm not sure. I will put this point forward though. Kelowna did create the plan for a waterfront trail 35 years ago.
Mhm.
It did take 35 years in order to get that content. So there's kind of two reasons I bring that up. A, it wasn't the council of today that got the benefit, but the council that one day, years ago, said, you know what, this would be nice to have. We kept it in their OCP for decades. And over the years, when things came up, there was an opportunity to get it, they got it. I don't know how many of the original councillors are even alive nowadays, that are now seeing that vision of construction. But that connectivity took place because the OCP continued to carry that thread through. So I think that's really a worthy discussion. It's something that the community really wants. And carrying that thread ongoing is a very sensible thing to do. Even though we may not see it in our lifetime, it's going to set the tone for future councils to be able to do it. But maybe that's not the case anymore, but I think it's worthwhile discussing. I think the viability of getting it in the next 20 years is extremely low. And that would be my recommendation to council, but I think it's worth a discussion, but not for this OCP.
Hey, Todd and then Colleen.
Oh, I'm good. That's everything I have.
Okay, Colleen?
And just one little point to this, and I know we don't spend time on it, is that when this was planned, we didn't have the rail trail either. You know, right across 50K connecting to moving on. So there wasn't that either. And again, it's very industrial. There's no commercial. It's not a, anyway, and I'm gonna have to scoot pretty quick unless.
Okay, Dean and then Gord.
Really quick, I think that the mayor's point is actually, because this is our first year of the rail trail ferry running. I think this conversation, even next year at this time, is going to be different, having this year's context on how the actual, we had 11,000 people riding the ferry when it ran for 2 months. How many people are gonna have this year? Like it's gonna be a total game changer as far as usership, the community and activity that goes on in the community and in that area of the community. So the ferry is gonna be a game changer on how things work. And so seeing this year's full running of it from April through to October is gonna be a game changer as far as information understanding of how the waterfront's gonna activate in the future.
Well, and I think the permanent connectivity is going to be the game changer. I mean, the ferry is there, but we need to have that permanent connectivity from downtown to ride your bike over the bridge and get on that rail trail. Like that's the permanent nature of it. Ferry is great, wonderful. We're going to have some long-term funding considerations there. That'll be for the next council and what they can do and what, how much resources we have. But the permanent ultimate solution is that connectivity over the brand new bridge. I think anyways, Gord.
Yeah, through the chair. I think, like I say, the rail trails, we have no idea what could happen, like I was out both days this last weekend and there's a group of probably 9 or 10 riding by me they were going towards Sycamoose. And I kind of yelled at them and they're all putting along. I said, where are you from? The first guy was from Costa Rica. The next people were all from Kelowna. And they launched in Grinrod, or no, Enderby, sorry. They launched in Enderby. And they're coming down the trail whether it's ready or not.
Yeah.
But
Very, I think ferry starts from this week.
yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
So also, we have the waterfront character area guidelines. Do we have a copy of that? Nicole, do we have the waterfront character area guidelines? Item 8. I'll just, if you can point me to where I can get a copy of that, that would be great. And then item 9 on there, it says, these road sections will have a limited vehicle use, but may continue to support existing boat launches. We say may and put will continue to support existing boat launches? Because we'll always have those roadways to the boat launch. So I think
I have to.
may continue, should we change that to will continue? Yeah. Number 9, last sentence on page 50. So that's I highlighted it for you. Well, okay. That was that.
So will that finish off waterfront?
For me, it does. I'm gonna have to
Yep.
excuse myself. Thanks, guys. Kara, can you send me a link? Or just send me a link and I'll send that. I just thought. get moving. I'm gonna leave you my note.
Yeah, for sure.
Gotta go, you gotta go.
Don't look at this, don't look at the swear word,
That won't bother me at all.
WTF.
Yeah, right. Fair enough. Okay, that's great.
Wait, let me just see here. Sorry, I don't mean to cause a.
No, no. We're not super formal here. We prefer, that's why we can get through some of the nitty gritty nitpicking. This would be pretty hard to do at council.
Yeah,
It's like-
exactly.
Oh, I know, but I mean, at least there's lots of people who have already done the nitpicking and, yeah.
Okay, I'll drop that.
Okay, highway commercial, I guess we're on to now. Has this changed? Has this highway commercial No, it hasn't. No. So this is what's already existing, or June, it has changed?
Thank you through the chair. So in the previous OCP, we had a highway commercial A and then a highway commercial B. And it has been amalgamated into one, as the previous commercial A and then B designation shared a lot of similarity. And then each of them were fairly flexible. So we amalgamated one.
Okay. All right, anything on that?
Yeah, where's highway commercial objectives? Is there any way, I know it says promote safe, efficient, and attract development along the highway corridor, but we should really focus on highways, trying to provide access to the community for pedestrians, like crossing that highway for the people that live over in Rama and behind, the Tim Hortons and all that area. I wonder if we should make that an objective to, put it in our OCP that we want the
Yeah,
crosswalks.
we have that part of the
Ministry's transportation.
yeah, the ministry's transportation plan, but that's a good point. Put it right in the OCP. Sorry, Todd, did you have something on this?
Well, just again, going back to Modi's corridor transportation plan, like when I was in council, I don't know, what was that, 10 years ago, we were talking about this. And they were supposed to be providing us a plan. And as of today, I don't even think we still have a plan. Like, why can't they give us a plan?
Go ahead, Dean.
So we're working in partnership with the ministry on doing a transportation plan for the corridor right now. One of the components of that process is to look at works that are being built on the highway for pedestrians. So it is underway. It's a cooperative planning process. It's been going on for a year now. So we'll start to see that come to council next week.
Oh. Yep, that's good news.
It was a program we got a grant for. So we did that planning process and staff and more, provincial staff, just about a year. Also stated a whole bunch of data collection and now we're starting to come forward with recommendations for amendments.
Okay. All right, moving on. Industrial. Community public use designations in there. Civic use. Parks and recreation. Oh. Rural designation. Okay. Rural use. Oh, okay. Yep. Go ahead.
Sorry, we kind of, Parks and Recreation.
Yeah.
I noticed in the old OCP, we had the rail trail in there. This OCP doesn't really mention anything about the rail trail. Is there something, should we be saying something about the rail trail, like in Parks and Rec, or, I know it's a park now, and I know we talked about, here I go again, a transportation corridor like Enderby and Spall Machine and Armstrong are calling theirs a transportation corridor, or utility corridor, whatever you want to call it. But I just noticed that we didn't have anything, there's not much in here, I don't think there's anything that speaks to the rail trail, so
So this would be an appropriate section for us to run trail.
Okay.
So I think that's non-conflict, should be included in the rail trail. I've listed within this as a recognition of its amenity and its development. Even since this began, this process, opening up components, and then this year opening up a larger component, the whole, the bottom of Bear Lake, and now we're at 42 kilometers. And when this first started, we were only at 2.5 kilometers, and now we're at 42. So there's been a lot of change over the last year. I think that's about recreation and knowledge, and we have the very rail trail that's available.
Great.
It would be a policy, which is good.
Okay, so that'll be included into that section, Parks and Recreation, all right? Again, no rural designation, rural use. Okay. All right, so we're on to 6, community development, agricultural and food security. Yeah, go ahead, Gord.
Yeah, no, I circled, we don't have a lot of orchards, we're almost too far north for orchards. We're good for berries or berry farms and stuff like that, but don't have a lot of orchards up here, and I noticed they put in orchards. But it's someplace we should, you know, I know we didn't have a flood map, we talked about flood map. And ALR land and flooding, should we be including a flood map, floodplain map? Like most of our ALR land, like a lot of it could be flooded, like along by Eagle River and along Old Town Bay Road, all that, like where the berry farm is, that's all flood area.
So flood mapping is a whole other discussion that we do. So it wouldn't be for agriculture and food security.
Okay.
Orchards have limited viability here. Apples certainly have viability. I'm interested to hear about pears. I'm not sure what might be a recording comparison. I'm imagining it's because of frost pockets, but be interested to find out a little bit more about that. Whether it's just not commercially viable is like the real answer. Producing the product without having the warehousing for it is difficult. Places like Kelowna and South Okanagan, they have a lot of warehousing, even though BC Tree Fruits has disappeared. The warehousing is still in place there to serve that product. I think in Sycamus, you'd have a tough time with the product, warehousing it, but certainly not a reason to not continue to have it or see it as an opportunity.
Yeah.
We want to encourage growing and food within our.
Yeah, one other thing we should include in here is Dean's pickled beets are amazing.
They are very good. I can
That under item 6.1.
put one.
My magic here is my wife's credit for is for the golden beets instead of the purple beets.
Nice.
You know why? Because they don't make a mess of your plate.
That's true. That's true.
No stain everything.
Okay, community recreation. You have something? Yep, go ahead, Gord.
Just a couple quick ones. I know objective 6.21, item 1, passive recreation. Again, I got that in there. But that's something we talked about. And then item 3 under 6.22, trail nodes. Is that trail roads or trail nodes? I'm not sure. Is that nodes a word?
Yeah.
Is it a word?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I didn't know it was a word.
Yeah.
And then other than community recreation, I know we want to grow our ORV industry. And I know Murray was up the other day, just did another guy. He's at over 40 ORVs now that are licensed for the road. And it's growing. Another guy in Bayview, he's getting his done this week.
There you go.
It actually is growing. So I'm just wondering about like mapping, like a recreation. I know we have a trail map in our trail plan, but if we should really take a good look at our ORV, because we do have a SILGA resolution going forward as well to promote more off-road vehicles in communities. So I just wonder if is it time to start designated routes? You know, and I know this is before most of all our planning staff. our first term, and Todd was part of it as well, and Todd and I met with Murray years ago, is to promote the off-road vehicle. We also came up with a bylaw. And it's in planning staff had that bylaw and they went through it and we were to a point of adopting it. But then we ran into the problem with the RCMP had final say. So that's why we elected to go down this route of having the RCMP approve every permit. But our new resolution is to go from 2 years on that permit to 5 years. And also, there's a meeting today with ATV BC, and they're trying to, they're going to review our resolution, but we're really trying to promote this in small communities. And I think she has 30-something small communities that want to sign up to ORV use in their community. So I just thinking it's time to really get a designated map for ORVs and stuff like that. So I just thought should we be putting this in the OCP, the wording in the OCP?
We're not quite ready to have an OCP map for ORV. I know Carly is working with the association on doing some mapping. She's certainly looking for the data so that they can create some mapping because it's definitely a product that they would like to be able to disseminate to people coming to town as part of our tourism initiatives. But as far as having the OCP, at this point, we don't have an established trail network map that we can incorporate into our OCP. How many of those trails are actually located within the district? Another question. But we don't have the data at this point, so it wouldn't be for this update. Certainly with the Parks and Recreation Plan, when that gets undertaken, I hope council will decide to do that. As part of that recreation component, I would expect that all of those pieces to be part of it. Recreation, including snowmobiling, ATV, those are all recreation activities in this community. It should be reflective of that plan. It wouldn't be a map we could include in the OCP yet.
Yep, go ahead, Gord.
Yeah, I just add to that. I mean, I just thinking, it could be an objective of ours to we're working, indicate that we're working on a plan. We're working on mapping and we want to promote the shoulder seasons for, or on season, it doesn't matter, but we really want to focus on shoulder season and just at least get the wording in our bylaw. Cause I think the mapping, like Carly, Murray gives everybody a route. And so Murray could be involved. Murray gives everybody a route. Okay, if you're getting a permit and you're at Bayview, this is how you're going to access Owlhead parking lot, like Trailhead, and this is where you can go to get to Queast. So he gives them a route and tells them to go through the roundabout and over there, so he has a route where he tells everybody where to go. So we're almost there. So if we just kind of put the wording in the OCP, then we'll be ready by fall.
Go ahead.
Murray's been pretty clear that this is their authority.
Right.
And so he can change that at any time. This is a 5-year document. So we don't want to put something into this bylaw that's going to be changed by the party at their discretion. So that may change over time, and he certainly has been static so far, but that could change at his discretion based on users and what they're having with the intersection, as well as what happens with the highway planning. There may be different routes, so we don't want to establish it in a 5-year bylaw unless we're certain it has control of it. At this point, we don't. So I think that this is not the right place for that policy at this point. Certainly through economic development, we wanted to continue to incorporate it in their planning. When the recreation plan comes through, it's one level lower in sort of planning hierarchy. That may be an opportunity for incorporating that. Certainly that thing you would incorporate it as a standard practice. I just don't think the OCP is at that point. We're getting down to that fine detail, especially when it's not something control.
Well, and I was thinking maybe it's not in community recreation. Maybe if you wanted to make a nod to it, you put it under economic development.
Yeah, no,
right? Where you say that we want to encourage, 4-season, I don't know, we could use some language underneath there that maybe gives a nod to building that out. I don't know. What do you think of that, Dean?
Certainly, if the committee would like to look at under 6.4.2, there's a number of policies in under economic development. This helps our corporation or development corporation shape their policies, and if you want to incorporate a policy in there that recognizes the necessity of shoulder season growth and expansion. And we can support that.
I think that would be appropriate, actually, and
If
it,
maybe you could give us some parameters of policy, but older season or is it more than that? Wants to see.
what do you think, Gord?
Oh, yeah, I agree, yeah, should be in,
Well, they're asking for a little bit more direction on what we would want to,
I think we're, under economic development, we're working towards, promoting backcountry adventures we're working with local authorities in regards to, planned route to get to the staging areas to the backcountry, something like that effect.
so I think four-season recreation, we're really focused on four-season recreation and building all potential avenues. I think something along those lines, you can wordsmith it, but I think that encompasses it, myself.
But if I to try supporting it.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, policy could say, support, expansion of four-season recreation in the community.
Yeah.
Focusing on expansion of shoulder seasons with activities such as ATV activities.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Would that be-
Yeah, that would be great. And even mountain biking, right?
Yeah, we could make a nod there, but I think that would help give us some direction and a nod to that's where we're kind of going in the OCP without limiting it. Yeah. Okay, since we're on 6.4, want to continue on, or did you have something else before that?
I just, one thing, and that's economic development. I know Carly, we've been having lots of meetings lately. We talk about signage, Sycamoose signage. Now we have our signage on the entrance to the communities, but and Carly's, we're trying to come up with an idea on how to get people to Main Street, right? How to, and I've even talked to Mike from Riversong Guitars, is to come up with some type of, getting people to Main Street, like whether you're coming down the highway, it tells welcome to Sycamoose, but there's nothing that stands out to promote people to come downtown. So we've even talked in our Tourism Advisory Council about a lot of communities have archways, and we have one at the far end, but an archway that's right by Sea Dog and the high school there says Main Street, and just we really want to focus in our economic developments to try to get people down Main Street. And I don't know if there's anything in the OCP where we can mention that in a highlighted way. It's just, is this something Carly and I have been working on, and one of the developers as well, that he's willing to even kick in some money to bring people down Main Street.
Yeah, I certainly encourage that conversation, Carly, and have that conversation as well. It wouldn't be an OCP policy necessarily. It's more of an economic development initiative, a tourism initiative. It's more of an initiative level, that this is a higher level plan. It is like a 5-year land use plan for the community, more so than specific targeted strategy. So it's specific targeted strategy as described in getting people off the Trans-Canada into our community is more operational strategy that will come through tourism and through the TAF as well as through the
Yeah, maybe if I can just say something on this too. I'm all for town center development, but I don't want that to be the only focus in terms of getting people off the highway. Like there's a plaza over there that I'd like people to get off the highway to, and I think having a sense that we want people to stop in Sycamoose, period, wherever that may be, even if you want an overnight stay at the Best Western. Awesome. You want to stop at any of our local businesses off the highway, great too. So we want to build up town center. And I really liked your idea about it being a community plan, because I think that is actually where the rubber would hit the road, is that we had a dedicated town center planning, and this will be for the next council, on how all of that would go together. Because it really does need to dedicated eyes, right? We've said a lot of things about growing the town center over the years. There's been a little bit here, and we certainly have 425 Main Street is making a dramatic impact there. But a larger, more in-depth and detailed plan, I think, would go a long way for Main Street. So a lot of the individual points you're bringing up, I think that should flow into that plan too. Yeah, sorry, but
Yeah, no, I agree with both of you guys. Yeah, I just, under objective 6.41, where it talks, item number 2 talks about revitalization, town center, waterfront, enhance local business, community life and visitor experience. And it just, the cleanliness of the highways are so important and signage, to tell people how to get off the highway, where to go. So, yeah, it's just something I always thought, and we'll work on that.
No, right. Carly and I had a good conversation last week. The phrase is, the terminology for it is wayfinding signage.
Mhm.
Wayfinding signage, there's lots of grant opportunities. It's actually been really surprised we don't have some wayfinding here in town. But it's really what says, it's what you exactly described, Gordon. It's how do you have signage that works together to get people from whether you're traveling to the destination you're shooting. So getting them off the highway, that's the critical piece. The very good transportation that gets them into businesses to work and support our community. So it's not specifically just the town center, it's just breaking the transportation.
that's great.
So there's a lot of work that's been done by other communities that we want to tap into. So I directed Carly to have a conversation with Megan from Revelstoke. They spent Columbia-based money for almost 25 years on how to do this, wayfinding signage. So they've got some lengthy studies, they spent thousands of dollars on this. So let's utilize that data and that sort of guidance as our base point. So let's not spend a dollar again. Let's use the dollars they've already spent and build from there. Build from a place of knowledge that's already been paid for. So we're not repaying for a dollar we don't need to spend. So there's been a lot of work that's been done. Revelstoke is in the same sort of predicament. Theirs is a little harder because their downtown is so separated physically. The highway, you don't just have to get people off, you gotta get them off under the bridge, down the railway, and then you're into downtown, so it's quite a ways. So they've spent a lot of money on this. We have a lot of money, Columbia Basin, so let's utilize that. So that's why I said, Carmen, let's start with all the data they've done. Fortunately, we got good relations with their team. And so we get all those reports and then we use it to start.
Great.
Okay. Yeah, John, go ahead.
A little bit on that same thing is I definitely seen other communities plan using some of that, but we really need to incorporate the studies and the work you guys are doing with LTI right now, because honestly, if they what their plan is already is almost cutting us off, really get rid of the guilt.
Yeah, well, it'll be one way.
We're shutting down Silver Sands access to that's not just that's out of town, Silver Sands. Highway all the way through there. There years ago, I was involved in that area restructure plan where we were hoping to put a road through, but that got shut down. So we really need to get MOTIs involved in that study done quickly. Can't only have one access to town really, right?
Oh, that's their idea. Yeah. Go ahead, Dean.
And what you have access.
Yeah. Yeah.
But that's not the story. So MOT has committed, once the bridge project is complete, section from the bridge to Malinois is part of their next study area. So they are committed to doing this study work. We'll have a rollout with that. We've already got that commitment. Micah spoke to it the last time she was here. She's the project manager for the bridge project about that planning process. It hasn't been initiated yet. Really focusing on the bridge, but that will be one of the next projects.
Yeah, that one's gonna be a biggie. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I agree with John. Gill Street there and not having the only entrance to Sycamore as Main Street is pretty devastating for downtown, I think. And that's why it's so important to to right now to focus on getting people down Main Street because we lose all that, we lose all that access over there and having that Silver Sands access come into the community right to Askews or somewhere around there. It would be a huge gain for Sicamous to have another access into town.
Yeah, I think Gill does have, it's just right hands, right? It's like if you can only, yeah, you won't be able to make a left from Gill. It won't be totally closed, but it will be.
Still.
Yeah. Yeah. No, for sure.
Our one access here and then you're back.
Yep. No, that's right. Okay. All right, I'm just looking at the time. Do we have anything else on economic development? Because we're on page 65.
What they've left us there is just the only way to get out of town. That's what they've done is a right out. There's no left in or a right in. It's totally a right out. So it's the only thing they've left us is a way to leave town.
Well, you can go in and go out and then you can come back in again.
Yeah.
No, point noted. Marine and channel development. Yeah, who wants to go on this one first? Todd or Gord? Yeah, go ahead, Todd.
One on, when we're talking about setbacks, I think it's mentioning 30 meters. I'd like to see 2 setbacks in the OCP, a 15-meter setback off the lakes and channel and the 30-meter setback off the rivers. I don't know why we incorporate 1 setback of 30 meters when there's 2.
Where are you? You're looking under 6.5 marine and channel development?
Let me see where that one was.
Because I don't
Okay,
see.
under my 6.5 one, that one's coming up. That's 10.5. Under 6.5, there was one into there that says they don't want to see any floating retail. I'm just wondering why we don't want to see any floating retail. I think I lost you guys.
No. We're Sal's just looking through it right now.
Yeah, I agree with Todd on that. I did read that. And also I wonder if there's anywhere we could put in here objectives is the dredging study and in regards to usable water lease lots. I just thought that would almost be an objective that we want to look at we're studying the channel or we're doing a dredging study. As development of the channel and had a couple concerns. I didn't know why we had the CSRD in here because they really don't have anything to do with the channel development, really. So I kind of had a couple question marks in there and I've got it highlighted on my form. And then the other thing, item number 3 at 6.52 policies, where it talks about uses associated with the houseboat industry. I think that should be houseboat and marine industry. Like, this we have some marinas on the channel as well. So it should say marine industry, or maybe you just call it all marine industry, but it just kind of focuses on the houseboat industry. Right? We don't want to lose the marinas on the channel.
No.
Are all those points, taken? Did you want to address, I assume the floating retailer restaurant is probably from our previous OCP? Yeah. Yeah, and I guess that's just another important point to make because this wasn't a full refresh. It was to do with residential components that the province made us really update. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, all right. Partnership collaborations. All right. On to environment, climate and natural environment. Go ahead, Gord. If somebody could have something on.
Didn't put anything in here about our DOS bioheat system. Also, I know we talk about water source protection and it says intact areas, and I think it means water intact areas, water intake areas. And then I also You know, I know we talked about Quagla and zebra mussels a lot. Upstream wastewater treatment plant, if Mare Hills is gonna, you know, talks about protection of the water, the water. I know we talk about farms in Mare Lake upstream, and also Mare Hills will probably be putting in a wastewater treatment system that is, you know, above our water intake. So those are just concerns for water source protection. I highlighted them, made notes for you, Nicole. June.
Yeah, go ahead, Dean.
One of those types of permit applications, we get referral. On.
Mhm.
So they wouldn't apply to us, especially when they're outside of our jurisdiction, they would apply to the province for a new wastewater facility, and through that permitting process, we would receive a referral. Would have the opportunity to respond to that referral. So we bring that referral to council and we provide a referral response to the province because it's their authority.
I had, okay, does that make sense? I had a question just about the district as a signatory to the Climate Action Charter. I don't even know what that quite is. And we'll take steps to address and support the goals of the charter. When's the last time anybody read that? Because I don't think I've read it. And I don't know what the goals of the charter is. So I just highlight that. If that was something that was done quite some time ago, then we should take a look at that because those goals actually might be horribly outdated at this point. Actually, we might have already blown past it. You never know.
Yeah, Ian, I had that on my list too. If we are assigned, you know, we're signed on to that. And also up item number 7, just above there, where it talks about invasive mussels, we should maybe, you know, put in there education. And it talks about management, but we should talk about education in there, you think? So I made note of
I
that,
think that's a nice one.
Nicole, too.
Well, and actually council has active funds towards that at our last budget meeting that, or will eventually, once the budget is passed, towards education around lake health and safety. Yeah.
Staff have a report on that coming forward to council.
So just under the community energy and greenhouse gas emissions, I just think we need to check on some of that to see if it's still relevant and valid. You know, community-wide approach to energy and emissions planning. I did not know that we had a Sycamus community energy and emission plan. I think I remember that briefly coming to council, but I just wonder if all of that stuff is still current and the targets are attainable based on those plans. Yeah, go ahead, Dean.
Based on the information that was most recently seen post, but
Yeah.
That's not us. This
Yeah.
is national.
Yeah, of course.
So this is the mandate that we have declared everything required and included.
Yeah.
So we'll review it, we'll go through and follow up with it. As noted, this is kind of a focus on housing legislation. I think this is not a comprehensive.
Yeah.
So I would push forward any changes to those sections until the actual OSP update 2027.
Right. Oh, they're gonna do another one. Yeah. Okay. Hazards and community safeties. I'm just pushing through, especially if, yep, go ahead.
Quickly on this one, this fire, mitigate fire hazards lands within high-risk areas. Does that say we have to register a 219 covenant on everybody's property?
Sure, right now in the current OCP, it says that, but it says that that's required at the building permit stage. So this has been reversed to require it at the subdivision and rezoning stage. So yes, it does say that.
Yeah, that would kind of be a little scary, having that on title. Like, I mean, there's a lot of property in Sycamus is a fire hazard.
Dean, go ahead.
The important piece of it is speed band subdivision. This is standard anywhere in Okanagan and the Shuswap. When you have a wildfire hazard area, these covenants are 219 covenants that advise the owner they're in a wildfire area and follow the fire smart guidelines. So protect yourself. Don't plant your trees right next to your house. These are basic elements of fire smart and that's the intent, is to make sure that the property owners, when they purchase a property, are aware that you're in a wildfire area. Please take the fire smart, you know, you gotta remember that people aren't coming from necessarily in our community, so they're not aware of it. And it's shocking what some people do, and how many people you still find stack all their firewood right next to their house. Or keep the one pine tree that's on their entire property that's only a meter away. And the examples from West Kelowna and Kelowna, the most recent fire. Most of those homes that got taken out in West Kelowna had trees directly adjacent to the house. So fire smart regulations are important. It is almost impossible to regulate them at a building permit stage. And it's useless to the community because none of your neighbors have done it. So subdivision is the right place to do it, so that everybody's lot, when they purchase their lot, they're aware. Everybody building their houses is aware, so this is the sort of where everybody does it as subdivision on a building permit, that's the reason why. You go in eyes wide open in a brand new neighborhood, because the subdivision is created, everybody has the same covenant, same as the statutory building scheme, it's just on your title. It requires you to follow fire smart guidelines, that's the idea.
Okay, yeah, no, I just, when people are buying a place in the mountains and it's full of trees around them, they must know they're in a fire hazard area. But the scary part is it being on title, right? Is like, that then it gets into the insurance thing and then, oh, your rates are gonna go up and, it's just scary. It's scary. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, I can understand that, but the practice has been around now for close to 35 years. Certainly in Vernon and Kelowna, it's been over 30 years in place. They haven't created a issue with insurance or mortgages or so forth because it's a guiding 219 covenant. So it just requires you to follow fire smart. So it's a very inert as far as governance, but good conversation for people before they build their house, just so people are aware.
Yeah, that was only my concern on that too, is just the insurance implications, but most of the time, that's a condition of your insurance now anyways, is that the home or property is fire smarted. Or they just sometimes just turn it down if it's not. They say, no, we're not gonna actually cover it.
Your insurance here in Sycamus will do this.
Yeah.
You have this as a 219 covenant.
Oh, yes,
You
yes.
will not get insurance in a higher hazard area. These are backed up with problems, not by us. You're in a high hazard area and you haven't done fire mitigation for your property, you're likely not to get insurance. You have a shake roof
No,
that hasn't been replaced and made it from metal, fire leak, everything. Shingle, you won't get insurance.
Yeah.
Same as you would if you have B-plex piping in your house. It's just you can't do it. So, I don't think we're creating a new.
no. Yeah, insurance they're on this stuff already, it seems. Okay. Hazards, okay, transportation and mobility. Again, I don't think this was touched, was it? This is from the old OCP. Yeah. So anything in this section would just be a leftover from the old OCP. Utilities and infrastructure.
We recognize the active transportation network plan that we adopted.
Yeah.
That's been added in there.
Yeah.
Support that.
Yeah, go ahead.
Can I comment? We have bed cell coverage.
Terrible, terrible cell. I don't know if that means mobility context.
Every time you talk to Todd, hello?
Yeah, but clearly the worst cell phone coverage. Please do something about it.
Down Bay.
Yeah. Everywhere. She could be in the middle of town, I bet. So, utilities, infrastructure. Okay. I think did you put something in there? Is that DCC bylaw? Is there anything new in that one? Utilities? Structure? I don't think so, but okay. Okay, implementation plan. I assume that's been updated with some of the new plans that have come to council. I noticed that there's a couple of their wastewater management plan, you're projecting out into 2027. Is that because in 2027, you're anticipating doing the new OCP and you're gonna have those plans ready for that period? Is that,
Wastewater management plan for the union business. For that.
Yeah.
So we'll be applying for grants.
okay? And same thing, with the asset management plan. I know we've talked about that before. Okay, so any of these plans that we're doing now, that's gonna flow into the next OCP, okay? Anything else? Bylaw review. Oh, yeah, that was the question I had there. So we were gonna update like bylaw 1100. Is that 1100? Is that, it's 1100, right? Yeah. But that'll be in 2027.
Sure. Yeah, that's the current zoning bylaw. Yeah. I think the idea is after this is implemented, then we would work on an amendment to this.
Okay, okay. Okay. Development approval information. Okay, here's a good one. Temporary use permits. Who wants to go first on this? You want to kick it off, Gord?
No, I just added some comments. In here, it says 3-year period for a temporary use permit, but then we have an extension of another 3 years. Should that be noted, or I can't remember. It mentions the 3-year, permit for 3 years in a couple of different places.
I think that's legislated, was the 3-year and the 3-year extension is the legislated legal limit that you can. So that's where that comes from.
Yeah, should we mention there's an extension or an additional 3 years? Do you need to mention?
Oh, maybe issued up to 3 years in any land use. Oh, I see what you're saying.
Like at the item number 10, the last item, it says apply for permit renewal. Up to 3 years.
There's only one renewal allowed, right? Up to 3 years. Yeah.
Okay.
I think that covers that. I see what you're saying, but I mean, council can do a 3-year, up to 3-year, and then they're allowed to do one more 3-year. Yeah. Yeah, go ahead.
Temporary use permits. I know there's been a lot of concern about this type of tool. I use the analogy of if you drove a screw into a board with a hammer, you don't throw the hammer in the lake. Grab a screwdriver. It was using the wrong tool for land use. That's what was the problem with temporary use permits. They have a place. It's the utilization of them as a tool that was the problem. So I think we're addressing that through our work with council to not use temporary use permits except very specific circumstances where they're warranted. And they shouldn't be used in the way that they've been used sort of or blanket as a way to avoid dealing with land use planning. Just a comment.
So I just have a question on number 5, though. The use must be clearly temporary or seasonal and must not involve permanent structures, foundations, or other lasting physical changes. I don't know, are we wanting to do we want to encourage that we use TUP just for temporary or seasonal? I thought we were trying to get to a point of where we would use TUPs in such a limited aspect. Yeah.
That comment is exactly what we've heard. It's not, this is what a TUP should be used for. It shouldn't be used for something that's going to be a permanent structure. This is stating that clearly as being within the policy for temporary use permits. It's more of where that tool is being used, the tool itself is a problem. How we use temporary use permits in the past is not how we recommend council use them. So we don't want to eliminate the tool, we just want to encourage it to utilize in a more appropriate manner.
Can I have a turn?
Yes, please. I didn't know you were here. Yes, go
Oh,
right
you
ahead,
can't,
Polly.
you can't see me? What a waste of video. Okay, so yeah, you know how I feel about TUPs. I think in the past we have designated zones where you can use TUPs, commercial downtown. And I think what the past we've done is TUPs are for that test market. They're for like the bottle depot. They're for like, I think we mentioned the RV park at Paradise, a space where you can actually change the zoning. They shouldn't be used for short-term rentals. You can't change the zoning in a short-term in a residential area to a total MUR2. It's just doesn't make sense. So they shouldn't be used for short-term rentals. They should be focused on business opportunities and test market, and they should be designated to commercial or downtown, I think, just to keep it all clean, and maybe even waterfront. Well, I don't know. Have to give that some thought, but I feel like they need more structure, and we shouldn't be passing out TUPs. My thoughts.
Yeah, go ahead, Dean.
So, number 8, the prohibited restricted lobbies that are eligible for temporary use.
Sorry, Dean, can you speak up, please? I don't know if Todd was.
Sorry,
So we did include item 8 in the prohibited ones, which says short-term rentals shall not be considered eligible as a temporary use.
But sorry, can I follow up? Sorry, Chair.
yeah, please go ahead.
Okay, so, but does that encompass everything that could go? Yeah, I get we get the short-term rentals because we've seen where we're at right now, where staff has to say no to people asking in residential, and so for short-term rentals, and staff has to deal with that, and that's fine. But is there any other spaces where a short-term rental could sneak up on us? And I know that you've got 8 short-term rentals should not be considered as temporary or for temporary use, TUPs. But is there any other spaces that we should be looking at that where that it could not make sense? Not just that number 8, but is there any spaces where else where it doesn't make sense?
Okay, go ahead, Dean, and then Gord.
I think, Mary, there is a lot of opportunity to sort of do analysis to figure out where they could be excluded more. I think to be clear, the issue has not been the tool itself, and I don't think the OCP is going to limit the tool to the extent the council is wishing for. It is the application of it, where council actually approves it and endorses it. And I think we would, as a planning group and as your CEO, I would recommend not utilizing it unless it really makes a lot of sense for exactly as was described, as a place to start a business. The example I like to use is you can't build the full commercial kitchen, so they're using a kitchen that's maybe different than the bylaw allows, and that would be a temporary use permit, so they get the business going. Like that kind of a scenario where it's going to be facilitating a full business for a short period of time. That is what a temporary use permit is intended for. So it's not the problem is not so much with the tool itself, it's how it's been utilized. So I think council just has to be more careful on utilizing temporary use permits. I think short-term rentals is a good place for it not to be, and I think prohibiting it outright is good. I think we'd have to do some more analysis as a planning group, determine what other areas are clearly cut and dry no's. You could consider excluding all residential, but then you may find a residential that comes up that you want to deal with it. So at this point, we haven't done the analysis to really give you much more than what we've got in this bylaw proposal now. If you want staff to do that, we can certainly look at it for the next update to have more. But I think what it's going to do is just council is going to have to be more clear when these applications come forward on how they want to handle them. And we will, as a staff, likely discourage them.
Yeah, well, we haven't been very good at that, so.
Yeah.
But faith in that, I don't know if that's a plan, but anyways, Gord, go ahead, and then I have comments.
Yeah, I just, I think it's a bigger conversation, with council. Because we've had mixed messages on short-term rental, then you get, the people that wanted a temporary use permit out for a campground out east of town. The Sycamore houseboat tent at 2 Mile. And I just think it's a conversation that we need to have as council to set, it's part of the bylaws as well. So I think that conversation is going to come sooner than later.
Well, I think our tops are a hot mess. I mean, there's no other way to actually describe it. It's all over the map, and some are approved, some aren't. Some are like deemed okay, that's a good use, and others are like, no, we won't want to do that. I mean, I was hopeful that this was going to give some more parameters. I don't think this is doing that at all. I mean, I think it's actually just continuing on the hot mess approach is my feelings. Like, so my problem with TUPS is, okay, you can go ahead and we have a perfect example here, 425 Main Street, 3 commercial units to get rented, right? We need people to rent that. We need people to rent the ones we have on the highway too. But then somebody can come before council and say, hey, I want to put a mobile retail shop on a lot that I have here, and I'm going to do that seasonally. Council votes and says, hey, yeah, you can have a top. Well, then you're just undermining your actual commercial spaces that you're trying to rent. And so, like, my problem with this is why invest in a town if you think council, because somebody comes before it, and it's politically popular, they would just undermine a business case for a multi-million-dollar project that you're just doing. And that is the essence of why this is bad policy. It's terrible because if you can get away with the lower and cheaper thing, of course, that's the best way to go about doing it. But you are not encouraging development that way, right? And that's what we've seen several times, right? It can be used in limited circumstances. I totally agree, but there better be a development plan backing it up immediately. And if it's not, then there's no top. And I think we should put that in here. If there's not a development plan coming with the top, then the answer is no, right? I can see the value in saying, hey, you can run your business while you build it and give that flexibility. But I don't see the value in just saying, here's 3 years and hopefully you'll come forward. Because it hasn't been working that way. And I think going forward, if we want to get these vacant lots built in this town, we got to give the people who are putting that big bucks down that they're going to be able to have a market where they can rent it. And then not potentially across the street, someone can run a temporary business and that potentially impacts their economics. So I just don't like TUPS. Anyways, Dean, and
I think what I'm hearing is that
oh,
we would like to see a potential adding of policy under 9.3.1.
yeah,
Is more clear about temporary use permits only be utilized in extraordinary circumstances, so that it's more clear to future councils that this should only be utilized in extreme circumstances.
with, I would say, demonstrated benefits to the community, right? Like if there's a development after that, then darn right, that's a demonstrated value to the community because it's going to be taxes, it's building a permanent business, all of those other good things that we want, right? So, yeah.
Can I have?
Yeah, hold on. I have Gord, Colleen, June.
Okay. Yeah, I agree with you, Ian. It's, I mean, we have the policy, but there is a time where you have to have something substantial. I mean, we don't make any money on temporary use. Don't get any taxes from them. They're not bricks and mortar. I mean, the prime example is, and I think the world of what he's done, what Kesh has done, he's asked for a temporary use permit for 3 years and has a plan to build a motel, expand the motel, but there hasn't been any action. And, 3 years went by really quick. And now we're into our second term of 3 years. And we have it in other parts of the community too. People applied for TUPS and nothing's happened. So, it comes a time where you do have to have, you have to rein it in, right? That's what I think.
Colleen, go ahead.
Thanks, Ian. And I'm going to echo a little bit of what you said. I totally agree with you, Ian. I think that when you come for a TUP, you need to have a plan that goes with it. You're just not asking for a TUP. Bricks and mortar are really key to our community, and people that invest in bricks and mortar, they should get priority over, things like a TUP. So I think it's really important. And I also think that we need to designate some areas. You can't you can't ask for a TUP in a residential area that's going to be a snack bar. Like,
Right.
that doesn't even make sense, even though yeah. Anyway, that's not it. I agree with you. There just needs to be tighter guidelines. And we as council are put on the spot. And some of us have friends that are in the community and we want to please our community all the time. And if you're putting it all on council to make those decisions, sometimes we don't always, agree on what should and shouldn't. So there should be some super defined guidelines for this. Also, and tracking it. Sycamoose Houseboat's tent was a TUP. It didn't come back in 3 years. It's now zoned for something else. So that TUP didn't even come back. So how many others didn't come back and got rezoned?
Well, and you're right. There were several that just got rolled up and rezoned into bylaw 1000 that council didn't even know about at the time, right? And so this is part of the problems. It started out as temporary and then it got rezoned somehow in our bylaw 1000. And it wasn't just that one, there was others. But I agree. Like if we can't put some more rigor around this, then, well, I think we have to, because I agree. Like this comes before council. Council cannot regulate themselves because what happens is people come forward, the person, or it's somebody saying, hey, this is the best thing ever, right? And then there's political pressure to actually do this. It's undermining our thoughtful planning on OCP and bylaw planning, bylaw 1100, and to the point of where all it takes in a small community is to feel that pressure a little bit, and then bad things happen. And bad things happen to the integrity of our bylaw, our zoning bylaw, right? And I just don't see, I think this is way too broad. Like if we're going to allow it, then we've got to have some criteria on the back end to say, these are the only circumstances that this would even get to council for a discussion, right? Like, I think that has to be almost a checklist that goes to staff going, you've reached these limited criteria. Okay, this can be considered. But if it doesn't, it's a no-go. Go ahead, Dean.
There is an option for council at this point in time, if they wish, as council, this committee to make their recommendation to them if they wish, which is not to include temporary use permits as part of this OCP for this sort of interim piece, and then come back to temporary use permits with the next OCP review where there's more comprehensive information available. Just taking the tool out of the tool belt, you're not obligated to have it in your tool belt, you're not required to have it. There's legislative parameters that allow for it. But you can certainly take the tool out of your tool belt, leave it on the workbench for a year, 2 years, the new council will make a decision on what the temporary use permit. The tool certainly can be brought back in to an OCP application if it's needed. So it's not gone, it's still in legislation. But if you just feel that this is such a contentious issue and you're concerned about what council will do with it, you're not allowed under legislation to presuppose future council's decision. But you don't have to necessarily leave the tool belt. So if you want to remove the tool from the tool belt to help council not do it, that certainly is an option. You would just be recommending the section 9.3 be removed from the OCP as an interim measure. You just don't allow temporary use permits. Any existing ones are legally non-conforming. They continue to be grandfathered. That or legally non-conforming is terminology used. And that's fine. It just doesn't even have the tool in the tool belt anymore. It's certainly an option of council.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think that's an opportunity. Or is we put a line in there that a temporary use permit is only will be considered if there's a development proposal. I mean, and then that's limiting, and that allows us to go, okay, we want to give X or Y a 3-year term to build this project that is actually going through our permitting process, and we have to do some things, but we would allow a limited kind of scope of the business or whatever it be. But as long as it's actually going through that process. So, yeah, Dean,
So
again.
I guess, and what I'm hearing would be under 9.3.1, under item 2, we added E to that. The proposed use as part of a comprehensive development, will form part of that comprehensive development, that plan has been provided. Something better wording than I just gave you right there, that was terrible wording, but we'll get better wording. We'll add it as item E under the guidelines. So.
Yeah, and then I would add to it is like, and that's must, right? If it doesn't have that, it doesn't go to council. It can't go to council, right?
Well, this says the proposed use must.
Must, yeah.
It already says that of all of the items.
And then,
Needs to be part of that.
and then that's kind of adjudicated at the staff level, and then that can be communicated, said, hey, no, you actually don't fit in this criteria. Go for rezoning. There's a lot of other things they could do, right? But that avenue would be, closed unless there was that criteria.
The way that would work is in the application form.
Yeah.
So it would not be accepted because it's a complete application unless you have that. So that would give us the separation of staff having to make adjudication.
Right.
The application just wouldn't be accepted because it's not.
Correct. Okay. Well, I would be okay with that because then that still gives the opportunity for those rare exceptional circumstances that would come forward. There's still that possibility, but it is also not just any applications just going to council because that's what we have now. And it's just not working at all. So I don't know. Is that anybody else want to comment on that? Does that sound like a plan? I don't know. Gord, you have any?
Yeah, I agree. It sounds good. It sounds good. I think it has to be looked at. I mean, and then it's like I say, it's a bigger conversation. Even our bylaws are a bigger conversation.
But at least let's start having some guardrails around it is what this would do. Yeah.
So when this comes to council can certainly give direction to staff and plus that we do more comprehensive review of this in depth over the next year, and we would certainly do that reporting on that for temporary uses. And this would be the interim measure. That's certainly workable. We can add something under item 1 under E, which is a must do, and that certainly would ensure that all applications that move forward would have that component in it, or else they don't come forward. It's not.
Colleen, does that satisfy your concerns as well?
It does to start with. I really think that there should be zones where there is no TUPs allowed. I just kind of feel that in my bones. But yeah, for now that will work. But yeah, a plan, a good development plan. What's to stop someone from having it for 3 years and not developing?
Nothing.
Yeah. Yeah, I know, right? So they could bring a plan. And not carry through and request another 3 years, right?
Well, I think I wonder though, I would hope staff at that time, because they would actually have to have a proposal and they could say, well, this is going to take us a year. So we recommend that the TUP be 1 year, not 3 years. Council doesn't actually have to give 3-year TUPs. A council can give any length of time they wish. It could be up to 3 years with a 3-year renewal. But if I saw something and staff said, hey, they need 1 year TUP because that's how long this permitting or whatever is going to happen, and then they can build, I'd be like, okay, it's a 1 year TUP, not a 3-year TUP. Because you should already be in permitting or development by then, right? I don't know.
Can I just add to that? And
Yeah.
that's a good idea. And if staff, you have the ability to not recommend. You can bring stuff to council, and if somebody wants it for 3 years, you can go, we're not recommending 3, we're, like Ian just said, we're recommending 1, and a plan will come with that. So you also have the ability to help staff navigate that as well, and where you feel it doesn't make sense in our community. Because sometimes we don't think of everything, and as planners, you're kind of you know, thinking of things that are coming up or things that are going next door or other things that are, permitting that's being requested. So, you kind of have an inside lane there. So, yeah, we could definitely, just request more information and, put a plan together so that they have a plan coming forward.
So I guess, Dean, that clause to put in would be, I think, supported. Yeah.
We're gonna keep the section, we're not getting rid of temporary.
That's right.
Not throwing the hammer in the lake. We're gonna keep the hammer, but we're gonna make some adjustments when we hit the right hand.
We're gonna
So we're gonna add some items to 1E, 1E that'll be more clear.
very restrictive, yeah, unless there's a development behind it. Yeah, okay. All right, so moving on to development permit areas. Yep, go ahead.
Yeah, just a quick one where it says walkway between Main Street and Capel Street. Could we not change that from the beach park to Capel Street? Because you really, once the bridge is done, there'll be the walkway on the waterfront there. It'll go down the alleyway, it'll pop onto at Portside, like the Main Street landing, and then it'll go all the way to Capel. So could we include beach park to Capel Street? Just curiosity, I put it in there.
So the beach,
It's like 10.2 is for the purpose. The second last sentence, or the last sentence where it says the district priorities completing the continuous walkway.
oh, you're 10.2, okay, yep.
Be there though?
No, we were still on multifamily development area. But if nobody has anything, I'm happy to skip to 10.2. Okay, 10.2 then. No, that's all right.
Got Nicole all confused. Yeah, so I just thought from Beach Park all the way to Capel Street.
Which section?
10.2 purpose, the last sentence. A lot of the in here, it mentions even the guidelines to waterfront character. We'd say Main Street to Capel Street for the walkway.
Like that to be Main Street to Beach Park.
Beach Park to Capel, like it'll be one continuous walkway. Beach Park to Capel.
Okay.
I'm just suggesting that one. And then another one is, I know our OCP for years in our zoning bylaw talked about development permits, anything less than $50,000. That's been there forever. And I mean, you can't even buy a garden shed at Home Depot. I wonder if does any communities ever increase that rate? I was just curious, where it says additional renovations valued at 50,000 or less, you don't need a permit.
I feel,
Wondered if we should go higher. I don't know.
I believe that number is determined in alignment to the Local Government Act.
Okay.
So that's just.
Okay.
But that's certainly been a comment that's been made after UECN. Number of commitments for since 15 years. That's never changed. It's been around the same for 2 years now. $50,000 today is not the same $50,000.
Yeah.
Okay.
Is that what it was? But it's not.
Yeah, me too. Town center development area? Anything else on that? I think that's,
Question on the
Yep.
map.
Could I make a comment?
yeah, so John's first and then you're second, Colleen.
Okay, thank you.
More of a question than a comment, just in the, on the map itself. Right, and the both as town center. Quite sure about that.
Yeah.
One of the differences why they're. Just it's not really.
That's all.
find them in this area.
The Carol, James is just gonna pull up the map. He can get what I can say, I don't know if he's correct. The industrial ways. Really, really. They'll have two different colors for the town center development area.
Well, lots of different one.
Yeah.
Area, I just was
Yeah.
confused.
And this comes down to what the character area, it's a lot of character area, and then the riverside. Yeah, we do with the housing. No, it's not.
Hey, Pauline, go ahead.
Okay. You guys are kind of really cutting in and out there.
Oh, sorry about that.
That's okay, that's okay. And I just want to add, I think that one of the uses in town center should not be any storage. I wrote it down here in a note, but I don't know where that goes.
Right.
Like, you can't store boats and trailers and whatever on Main Street.
I would agree. Yeah, that I think would that be covered under bylaw 1100 or is it under? But I do think in OCP, that should be specifically excluded, is that we would use any property on our main street or towns for storage purposes. That can certainly be done somewhere else.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Dean.
We'd be asking for a policy to be included within their development policy.
Mhm.
That would guide our zoning bylaw people to do it. Would exclude it as a use based on.
Okay. Yeah. Did you hear that, Colleen?
No, Ian, can you repeat that, please?
So Dean just says that would be put into a policy as part of their development permit, that there'd be no storage allowed or no storage facilities be permitted along Main Street. Is that correct, Dean?
So we would add it as one of the guidelines under the development permit for the town center as a policy. And then we would preclude that use in the zoning bylaw when we do that update.
Okay, so everything that's there right now is grandfathered.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, why wouldn't we put this in town center in the updated OCP? Is that we won't permit it?
Well, yeah, no, I'm saying we will.
Okay, all right.
We'll put it in, the actual tool that permits it is the zoning.
Is the zoning bylaw, okay. But yeah, we have it into the OCP, that will guide into the bylaw, the zoning bylaw. I guess one other question I have, and since we're talking a little bit about the map, we have all of the Finlayson Street lands that are currently vacant, 28 acres of it listed as highway commercial. But when I'm taking a look at the OCP, that don't make any sense to have your town center and then right across the street highway commercial. They're very vastly different zones and vastly different uses, right? So when I looked at it, I was like, okay, we're trying to do our OCP. How does this jive, right? Where you could have all the potential uses of big box stores, everything else on one side of Finlayson Street, but on the other, we're like, no, we want small downtown boutique hotels, shops, all this other stuff. And then, the uses is incredibly much more limited. It doesn't seem to me to be able to work if you zone 28 acres of highway commercial. First of all, I question that's not even really possible unless this town was 10 or 15,000 people, that level of highway commercial could be ever absorbed without a much larger population. And then two, that just kind of kills your town center because you could build all that commercial over there. Well, why would anybody be building in a more limited town center kind of capacity? So that didn't make sense. And it still doesn't make sense to me because I don't think you're actually going to get the desired town center development with that being right across the street. So anyways, go ahead, Dean.
I think this hammers home that we need to do a town center plan.
Yeah.
Plan for it needs to be completed. It wouldn't be a part of this process, but that's something that should be undertaken.
Right, but if you have that in your OCP now, you're signaling that is the proper use. So until you actually do your next OCP, you're, yeah, I just, they're just, because it's so close to your main street, like within like 100 feet, really, maybe a little more. I just don't see how that adds up to getting what we want and what we've spent a lot of time talking about, your main street revitalized. Yeah, okay, go ahead.
Just to help, a neighborhood plan is an amendment to the OCP. So you adopt a neighborhood plan, it amends the OCP. So you would do that process, and that would create an amendment to the OCP. Adding that neighborhood plan to it is an amendment to it. So once you've done that more fine planning process, you would do the neighborhood plan adoption, amends the OCP. So you'd have more to becomes part of the OCP. So it wouldn't be waiting for the next OCP update. Council decides what to do with that neighborhood plan. Once that neighborhood plan is adopted, the OCP is amended to reflect that new.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, the reality of this current zoning is right across the street from City Hall, highway commercial, you could be allowed a McDonald's drive-through. And I don't think that's what we're kind of going for with what we're trying to do downtown, because yeah, it's so conflicting that it's just bizarre, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah, there's a whole land use conversation we need to have. And certainly doing the consultation and getting that process going is a good strategy. And that's what a city center plan would do, is have that consultation, work with those landowners, figure out what's going to be doable in those areas. I think a lot of this has just been left because there's not no one's on plans. So once we start to get some kind of plans and work, how Finlayson is going to work with Main Street, you know, and how that interaction is going to be, whether you're going to have the commercial absorption to have all of Finlayson be a Main Street type of format or not, needs to be explored. That is a lot of frontage of small scale retail that I'm not sure is economically considered. But what should that retail be then? What is that format going to be? It's got to be looked at. I think there's a lot of work that needs to be done, and a good neighborhood plan will do that for you.
Well, and I wonder, like, it's currently just listed as commercial, 28 acres of just commercial doesn't seem to be very viable either. Is some of it need to be residential commercial, right? These sort of mixes, because I just don't see how the town would absorb 28 acres of just commercial lands. Like I mean, I think we have vacant commercial properties now on the highway. How planning to do 28 acres of it, if fully built out, would be absorbed by a town of, you know, whatever, 3,000 year-round residents, that doesn't seem to make sense on an OCP basis. But yeah, go ahead, Dean.
So I think that, you know,
Gordon.
you get something that's been around for a bit.
Yeah.
I think we just, this is not the process where we undertake any review of that piece.
Okay.
I think that I would recommend that the committee that we look to having a neighborhood plan come forward. I think that's the key part of the next phase, is we do need to do a zoning bylaw update, but we do need some neighborhood plan work. And that is the process that will see more detail. It's more conversations.
Okay.
I'm certainly eager to have it happen.
Yeah, it's just, to me, based on what is actually possible and what's sustainable and what actually then builds the town in the way that we are kind of planning in this document for. So that was just an outlier for me. Anyways, Gord.
Yeah, through the chair. Yeah, I think it's that conversation has to happen with the owner. I think like right now, this is, you know, the proposal is, but some of those lots are actually, I think, rural or maybe even country residential. So, you know, as they're zoned now, they haven't been rezoned.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, this was in the OCP.
Yeah.
Yeah, what's in the zoning is different.
Yeah, the zoning's different, so that conversation has to happen. And, you know, being highway commercial, when you can access it from the highway is another point. So that intersection is very, very important at Silver Sands, right?
Yeah, go ahead.
To comment on that, this is actually a good example of council having desire and creating OCP policy based on desired outcome. That necessarily they don't have control over, right? So at some point, council really wanted this. This council, this was quite some time ago, really wanted to see this happen.
Right.
So we designated it the OCP, believing that that would result in the development. But that's not the case. They're not the property owner for it. The property owner has to be part of the solution. So that designation is in place today. That doesn't mean the zoning is in place today. The designation is in place today. So if we want to take that designation away, we've got to have that process, that conversation. That consultation did not happen yet. So you got to have that process in order to do that. And I would encourage you to bring forward a resolution when this goes to council and say a neighborhood plan should be undertaken. That would be the process where we can have consultation, work out plans, sort of how this is going to work. A whole bunch of infrastructure pieces that have to be figured out before this would work at all. No, that would be the process you want.
Yeah, sorry, go ahead, Gordon.
And that conversation should happen sooner than later, because if you're dealing with highways now, and highways are getting ready to do their corridor plan, right? That conversation is really big for the access to Sycamoose, and really, it's really a big conversation. I mean, I always said, you know, getting rid of Gill Street is like crazy. Like, I mean, everybody that leaves Riverside or the end of Main Street are gonna go out on Gill. They're gonna go, because they can't get on the highway, they're gonna go turn right by Blondie's, they're gonna go down to the houseboat, then they're gonna cross the highway, do a U-turn there, and then they're gonna get on the highway to go to Salmon Arm. You know, it just, that intersection has to happen sooner or later.
Dean.
So when this goes to council, the recommendation that I would give you is to bring forward as a neighborhood plan. It would be one of the outcomes of the OCP that you recommend staff undertake a neighborhood planning process for the town center, including this area, which is part of the geographical area. And we would begin that process, and you can give us a direction. You want to see that move forward in 2027, and you know, the new council, and we'd undertake that neighborhood planning process. But we got to have the consultation to actually undertake that. We can't just do.
Oh, and I'm not suggesting that at all, but when you look at it on a OCP basis, and I know the zoning is different, it's kind of like that really needs a lot more work about how that would even look if that got fully developed, and how it would integrate in with what is basically almost the town center, but on the outside of it. And you know, I look at it as like, should it be two different designations? One is town center and the other one, maybe a frontage road where you do have highway commercial. I know that would have to be dependent, but if you take a look at the size and scope of it and just having it as just that one zone, it just didn't seem very realistic that would ever get developed in that way that we have it in the OCP, because it's just too much to absorb and it's just not viable, I don't think, unless the town grows to like 15 or 20,000 people, then yeah, you could do that level of development on commercial basis. But yeah, I agree. It's a bigger part of the conversation. I'm not suggesting to change it. I'm just saying it was that one piece where I looked at the OCP and I was like, well, this looks like this is a very significant over signaling of one type of zone, right? Where we don't necessarily have that in the other pieces here. Like we don't have vast swaths of I guess, well, we do have quite a bit of highway commercial, actually. Yeah, sorry, go ahead, Dean.
Just a comment from a planning perspective, the amount of commercial space versus residential space we have in the neighborhood plan, you probably believe it. So we need to have some of these parcels go to residential and actually built out.
Yeah.
Residential support.
To support the commercial, yeah.
So that would work is really a good land use exercise.
Right.
We don't have a lot of park space or recreation for residential there, so that's the whole conversation that should happen. And how that's gonna work, and whether portions of those parcels should be residential or should be commercial, that's a whole conversation that should happen. I just think it's a planning exercise.
Yep.
That we're taking some time to do properly.
Yeah, like I said, I wasn't suggesting that we just do it willy-nilly. I just wanted and it shouldn't be at all, but yeah, you're right, it's applying for the. Colleen, did you have any comments on this discussion? I wasn't sure if I saw your hand.
No, I'm good. I mean, it's a bigger conversation.
Yeah, okay. Okay, so town center development permit, guidelines, Riverside transition area. Yes, sorry, Colleen and then Gord.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
Nope.
On here it says, use bold, vibrant building colors to enhance the streetscape. That's very East Coast. We literally did, and Gord, I can't remember if I don't remember if you remember the guy's name. We did a whole downtown nautical industrial kind of feel, not so East Coast. I mean, this is heading us in a total opposite direction of what we thought we were going to be going in. Do you remember, Gord?
Well, I know
Evan's friend.
2 OCPs ago, it was all nautical theme.
Yeah.
And then it kind of transitioned away from the nautical theme on the last OCP. And now I don't think, we really have a theme, but you're right. Bold, vibrant colors. That's a new one.
Mm-hmm.
What section are you looking at?
10, 2, 3.
10, 2, 3, number 3.
I might be ahead of you. Sorry.
No, you're exactly where you need to be. I just,
I know they use that up at Silver Star. They have bold colors up there.
certainly not the look at where we are
No.
at this
No.
point, no.
Or is that or is it the direction we want to go into? I think we did a whole public consultation on this project, and there was a report done. And I don't know who has it. Maybe staff could dig it up. It wasn't light.
Yeah, Dean has his hand up, so go ahead, Dean.
We'll revisit this.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. Go ahead, Gordon.
And then on another one, if you bring up a map of the zoning, the transition area, do you think it's time, and I don't know, I don't know if it makes a difference or not, to include 222 Temple into the transition area because it's got multifamily in there now? I don't know. I always wondered why it's on the border. Yeah. I guess if you look right here.
What's it now? The thing is medium density now, isn't it? Which is exactly what it is, kind of medium density, right?
Yeah, I didn't know. I was just curious.
Well, maybe, what is the idea behind that transition area? Maybe you can give us a little bit more. Yeah, go ahead, Dean.
Commercial to residential. Just try to transition to the residential offering. Temple is considered part of the residential. You would then be absorbing all the properties between Temple and Riverside as part of the commercial development area. I don't think it's what certainly counts as simple today.
Yeah, go ahead,
Yeah,
Nicole.
sure. A good example would be the one that we worked on at
Right.
storage on the other side, which is kind of like a buffer between entire commercial, multi.
And then, yeah.
Yeah. Yes, for me, that sounds like it's a little bit of a quieter use. Going into that higher medium density.
But the wet up development was MER2, I believe, right? Or did we rezone that to, yeah, it was MER2. So I wonder, again, like here's another example of what we just kind of were talking about, is that does this zoning, and is there that much of that zoning, is that proper for the OCP? That's a lot of Riverside commercial and transition area. I mean, are we even following that now? Because I don't. Because what up wasn't, I don't believe Martin Street was either in terms of that zoning complying with the OCP. I don't know, does this make sense to what's actually happening there?
If you look at the development permit for WAP, we focus the higher density development on the Riverside to
Of
Chapel.
course, yeah.
With the lower intrusive, less intrusive parking areas and so forth to be on the other side, the east side of Riverside, to transition to residential bed. So that's the intent. So we're looking at parcel like alignments. It's very difficult to have designation lines and don't follow parcels. A lot of these parcels in this area are larger parcels.
Yes.
So when you bisect a parcel with a designation, you have to have a clear plan of what you're doing. What does that line mean? What are you expecting it to be? So to simply have a line that only goes, for example, 30 meters away from Riverside and just cuts a line through there, then it makes it very difficult for zoning. And how do you develop that parcel? So we generally will try and follow parcel lines, so either property is in or out of a designation for that reason.
Okay. Anything else on this? All right. Waterfront character area. Anything there? Highway commercial development permit area. There, no. Guidelines. Always kind of had those guidelines in there, like incorporates crime prevention through environmental design principles. Is that? It is, okay, all right. Anything else there? No, okay. Industrial development permit area, 10.4. All right. 10.41, the guidelines. Okay. Riparian area development permit area. I feel like there's something here. I feel like there might be some comments.
I think, can I?
Yeah, please go ahead.
Yeah, I think the comment, Todd had to run, but sent me a text. He'd like to see 15 meters, not 30.
Right.
So, and I don't think that should be an issue for us, unless somebody sees a reason it shouldn't. I mean, we need to look after our businesses and be responsible at the same time, and we can do that with 15.
That doable, Dean?
Are you talking about right in the purpose here?
Yeah,
Sure.
I believe that.
Yep.
Yes, instead of proposed within 30 meters, should be 15 meters. Yeah, go ahead, Dean.
You actually should be silent on that.
Okay,
Because it's not always 30 meters, it's not always 15 meters.
it's up to, isn't it?
No, it is 30 meters when it's on the river or stream, and it's 15 on the lake. 30 meters is still the riparian area, so we should have a dimension there.
Okay, so did you hear that, Colleen?
No, sorry. Dean's hard to hear back there.
Yeah, I think it's because he doesn't have a mic in front of him over there. But he just said that that we should eliminate that reference altogether. We should just stay silent on it. So take out, don't put 15 in, don't put 30 in, just don't put anything in. Is that correct, Dean?
That's okay.
Okay.
That's a great idea. So then it puts the onus on us to make the right choice.
It's whatever, yeah, kind of thing, yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
Right? Okay.
Yeah. Gord, go ahead.
Yeah, no, 100%. You leave it up to the QEP and they decide for you. And pretty much everybody's getting 15 meters on the channel anyways. So I agree 100%. The other thing, I know we haven't got it, but is there anything where we might want to mention that we're pursuing a head lease? Is there, what's your thoughts on that?
Go ahead, Dean.
I,
At least current application to the province would be listed there.
Okay. Colleen?
yeah, I would leave it out for now. We'll
Okay.
run that battle.
More riparian discussion? Anybody? Well, that was less than I was expecting, but I guess we've talked about this issue so much. Exemptions. Minor and major development permits. The report requirements. And then guidelines, all development. Still talking about riparian. Oh yeah, go ahead, Gord.
Do we have to mention, like a high wave action study, in and I mean, for the channel? Like, can we, I mean, I know that's a big cost and, it's really not necessary, maybe out on the big lakes, but maybe not in the channel. I don't know, is there? I highlighted it for you.
The QEP actually makes the determination whether it's warranted or not. So depending on the location, it may not be warranted, and they would put that caveat in their report.
Oh, okay.
It-
It just talks about, any armoring is required due to a high wave action. And I just wondered if it should even be put in there, like the 30 to 15 meters, if we should just let the QEP decide.
These are difficult, so these are the guidelines that we have to get the province to approve in order to have this group from their responsibility to our responsibility. So we have to follow pretty similar to what they have in their guidelines. The difference being is we're gonna be the adjudicator of it instead of the province. So the reports will be sent to us, we'll review them, and we will issue the TP instead of the province issuing it. That is the change. We can't really change the regulation.
Go ahead, Colleen.
Thank you. That was, okay, so to address this as well, or to add to it, to Gord's point, the wind and wave studies, that was a problem with the channel, the businesses on the channel, because Papa's would have to do one, Twin Acres would have to do one, Splash would have to do one, and they're right next door. So having those studies was why Sneeze was formed. So we should have a space in here that speaks to not everyone, not like the entire channel doesn't need to do the same studies and the same reports, because some of these are redundant. So yeah, we should be really careful. Yeah, QEP can do it, but we need to make sure that we're referring to maybe Sneeze or covering more than one business with one report. I don't know how to put that in here.
Go ahead, Dean. Just speak up so she can hear you though.
That there's comprehensive reports available. They become part of the literature the QEP would reference for their report, and the individual requirement is not required. So as soon as those comprehensive reports are in place, so once there's a comprehensive wave action report for the channel, that becomes the literature reference to. So the QEP won't redo that information. We'll just reference that report. So as soon as they're in place, it's automatic. It doesn't have to be created in policy over those.
Okay. Does that make sense, Colleen?
Sure. Our goal with this is to put as much power in the district of Sycamoose as we can, so we don't have, and we all know the roadblocks, the timelines, and how difficult getting things done with the province is. Let's keep in mind, our goal is to give us more power. So that's all I'm asking for.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, go ahead, Gord.
Yeah, I remember when we went to Silga and we did a resolution to try to eliminate the process where it went to the province, and if the QEP could vouch, with are the people that are trained.
Well, they used to be able to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then we ended up talking to forestry and lands or water or whatever you want to call them, and they said, oh yeah, our permits are only 8 months at the most, 6 months or whatever. I mean, it is so far from the truth, and the red tape that they they sling at developers or, businesses on the channel is just outrageous.
I mean, it would
Cut
be,
that.
it would really be nice if the province went back to the old system where the QEP could just sign off on it rather than sending it to another layer, right? And I know that's what we're trying to get to, but yeah, Dean, go ahead.
So this removes all the permitting processes from high water mark up from having to go to be done by the district.
Okay,
Everything from high water mark up will be a district.
Okay.
And with the delegation bylaw to most council, it will be decided by staff.
Okay.
The timeframes of not having to go to Victoria, not having to have a administrative lands adjudication process, and being able to approve it is going to be significantly improved by having staff be able to review it, approve it as a standard development permit, and if council approves the delegation component as well, then it can be approved quite quickly.
any further discussion on this? I think we're on guidelines, urban development, 10.5.3. Hazardous development permit area now, 10.6. Okay, the guideline, oh yeah, go ahead, Gord.
And just a hazard development permit area, I know they slope in excess of 30%. And you just want to try to, try to cut the red tape. Because I know when my boss tried to build that shop there by the dump, they wanted to do an avalanche report. Like, I mean, it's just like red tape. Like, it hasn't fallen off the mountain, before. And it's crazy that, I can see if there's a residential home below the slope or something like that, but it's just costs somebody thousands of dollars to produce anything.
Well, consultants need to eat too. Go ahead, Dean. Then I have a point as well.
Whether you have this or not doesn't matter. The province through the engineering association has guidelines for land work that have to be done by geotechnical engineer. Part of that is landslide analysis that came in as part of the program. I think about 9 years ago, maybe 10 years ago.
Yeah.
So it has to be done anyway. So a geotechnical engineer has to do it. So this is not creating another level of analysis that doesn't already have to happen. It just clearly delineates where that area should be. So somebody's looking at doing development, they understand. If you have over 30% slope, you're going to need to look at it.
I have one question about, and it's number 2, actually. Partially or wholly within the identified 200-year floodplain map. I'll tell you that basically show all of Sycamores, right? And is there a reason we're using a 200-year floodplain map as the standard? Is that another provincial kind of requirement?
And is the government not aware of climate change and how much the water has gone down?
Well, it also just seems like we're setting it up kind of like we're saying, hey, the whole town could just be, flooded at any moment. And that's just not the case. It has never historically, for a very long time, happened. And why are we going back 200 years?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, go ahead.
We'll revisit that one.
Okay. Yeah, and I think what I've heard from people throughout the day is like, we're worried that identifying these sort of things impacts insurance or raises red flags that might not be there. I think the whole document, if we look through it in that line, not raising unnecessary red flags where they just don't exist. I mean, there's always risk, but yeah. Okay, exemptions, anybody? Oh, we're getting there. Anything on the guidelines? No? Okay, so now we're just kind of into the maps, and I don't know, do you guys want to, are these maps new or are they to be updated anyways? Okay, I'll look to Dean to.
They're going to be updated with the part of it. So now we're just
Yeah.
we'll bring that forward and we'll
Okay. So any other comments before we kind of close this 3.5 hour OCP meeting? I don't know, anybody else? Yes, Dean, go ahead.
Maybe not be.
No, of course.
Consultation process is going to go on, the public hearing. There's lots of opportunities still to come for input, so if you think of something else, don't feel shy. You've missed the committee meeting opportunity. There's lots of opportunities for you.
So maybe I can just put you on the spot and just say, okay, the committee's done a big deep dive today. What are the next steps in this? And I know, and maybe bring us right through public consultation comes in again.
So we're gonna grind it so as quickly as possible with the updates we need. Then we'll get that. We'll have a bylaw that we can bring forward, council to consider first reading. We're also gonna have some referral agencies that will have to be a part of that process. So first and second reading, scheduling public hearing. We'll have that through the final adoption. Province has to endorse this, has to cabinet. In the interim of that, we'll have a number of ministries that have to provide their endorsement of it. So that process will all happen prior to adoption.
Okay. And we think we are going to get this done by summer?
Completed by January 1st of this year.
Right. Okay. So
We're already 4 months.
fair enough.
Unfortunately, like I said at the very beginning, we're in good company with a bunch of other releases and timelines. We're somewhat unreasonable by the province for doing this.
Yeah.
It wasn't seem to be any consideration that if you mandate everybody in the province to do this, how limited resources are there to actually do this? What is that going to impact the timelines, especially for a smaller community like Sycamores? I mean, Kelowna got there, that's great, you're Kelowna, but we're not the same all of the moving forward. That's all.
Correct. Okay. All right. Any other? Yeah, go ahead, Nicole.
No. We do have a regularly scheduled PDP for 15. Right now we don't have any applications for it, but we thought we would discuss it how we. I don't know if we have to do anything with the OCP.
I don't think so.
We covered it all today, which
Yeah. I think we did a deep dive, and if we don't have anything for the agenda on April 15th, then we could just skip that PDC, wait until something comes forward. But I mean, I don't think we need to have the OCP back here again. We've done 3.5 hours unless there's something else comes up. Yeah. I mean,
This week we will schedule the April 15th.
That's right.
The next
Yeah.
one.
Yeah.
That'll be our next.
The only thing I would suggest though is if there is the revisions we want to bring back here to have a quick look at, we could do that, but it depends on how people feel. Sorry, Colleen, were you trying to say something as well?
Yeah, sorry, I didn't mean to. Oh, look, I can see you now.
Yeah.
I feel like I've been working in the dark here. I just want to say great job, PDC committee, and great job chairing Ian. I think this 3 hours to go through this was great. And thank you, staff, for your patience and working with the team. I like this process today. It worked really well. Thank you, Ian.
Yeah, I think it worked great too. I appreciate everyone coming here so wonderfully prepared and very detailed questions and concerns and thoughts. So I think this has been an extremely successful use of the time and appreciate everybody. But now we're going to adjournment. I need a motion to adjourn. So John, seconded by Gord, all in favor? Okay, we are adjourned at 12:35 p.m. Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, guys. See you later.